What's going on? What's going on, my film fam? Welcome to another episode of Let the Film Speak. I am one of your hosts, Chop. Here with my main man, Willie Jack. Willie Jack, how you feeling today, my brother?
Yeah, man, feeling good, man. This is it, man. This is it. Then the big day coming. You know what I mean? So the big dance is here, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. We got a couple comments on YouTube, but it's not showing up in the restream. But yeah, man, little sis and my mom's in the building already, man. The home team in here early and strong. Appreciate y'all. I don't know why y'all comments not showing up, but yeah, I can see them on the YouTube. I got to put up on my phone as well. So I want to shout y'all out. But yeah, man. Yeah, ready to get to it, man. It's the last little shindig for its time.
For sure, man. And speaking of the new shindig, of course, we all know about the big day, but me and Willie Jack got a big day coming up of our own, you know what I'm saying, as we've been talking about and as we've been mentioning in each and every show, man, we have the biggest day coming up for Let the Film Speak in Let the Film Speak history because me and Willie Jack, we're going to be in the same building, under the same roof, in front of the same lights, man. We're going to be bringing our Sunday show to y'all, man, live in Texas. We're gonna be on the same roof, man. We're gonna be doing it like that, man. So make sure y'all tuning in. Make sure y'all letting all your peoples know and everything that's going on. Of course, today we're gonna talk about some awards, man. We're gonna jump into some awards. We're gonna get into all that. But before we do that, we got the house rules, Willie Jack. And the house rules are the same as always. I need y'all to like, I need y'all to share, I need y'all to subscribe. Become the newest member of the Film Fam. How else are you going to know exactly what's going on? Of course, you got to hit that notification bell as well. You hit that notification bell, you will be in the know. Anytime me and Willie Jack, we got something going on at the crib. We got people coming over. We got a shindig that we got coming up. You know what I'm saying? You will be in the know of what's going on if you hit that notification bell. So go ahead and hit that. And I guarantee you, me and Willie Jack will not let you down. Okay? First things first, Willie Jack. We got to jump into some news, man. Before we jump into the awards, I know we got everything coming up in regards to that. We got some news that we want to jump into first, okay? And the first piece of news we want to jump into, I'm going to start from try to do like a little timeline of things, man. But the first thing that came out, we had Brian Schottenheimer, man. Brian Schottenheimer, will be the new OC for the Dallas Cowboys right after they, decided to go or part their ways with Kellen Moore. And, of course, we already talked about Kellen Moore getting signed by the Chargers and what we thought of that move. Willie Jack, what you think about this Schottenheimer move to Dallas, man?
He was. I remember him through his pops as well, Marty Ball. So, man, that was a notorious. His pops was, of course, a Hall of Fame coach with the Chiefs, with the Chargers, and he was the head coach for a lot of major run offenses. So Priest Holmes was a running back under Marty Schottenheimer. And then also those early years and what we remember from the legendary career of LaDainian Tomlinson. That's Marty Ball. You know what I'm saying? I got one guy, one bell cow back, and I'm going to get this guy the ball 30 times a game. So that's Marty Ball. And so the drawback or knock against that was that, or for Marty, as much success as he had in the regular season, he just couldn't punch through in the postseason with the Chiefs and also with the Chargers, et cetera. But so his son his son, I remember him for his time with the Seahawks. So he was the coordinator for the Seahawks for all that time, and a lot of the Let the Russ Cook campaign that kind of started back then. It was under that scheme where it felt like where at the time where we were thinking that maybe that system was holding Russell Wilson back, but in hindsight now, you're as good as your last time we seen you on TV. Well, maybe that system was holding Russell Wilson up. I mean, that's still yet to be determined until we see what Sean Payton does in there. But say all that to say, I'm interested to see. And so, he's hired as the offensive coordinator. Now, it is going to be an Eric Bieniemy, Andy Reid situation. Mike McCarthy's calling the plays for this offense. But just as we've seen with these style of arrangements before, there's still a lot of work to be done in that chair itself. He's still going to be a very weighted voice heard in the offensive, in the offensive scheme room and that sort of thing. Now, the biggest thing is, definitely he's got a background in running the ball successfully. They don't have a running back on that. Well, they don't have, I guess, an ideal running back on that roster. Tony Pollard, man, budding breakout star, man. My dog TP.
Hold on. You mean to tell me all this free TP talk? You mean to say he's not an ideal running back?
No, it's not ideal. He's injured. No, he's injured. Remember, he got injured. That's
I know that, but he's still on the roster. He's
Oh
on the
no,
roster.
he's as good on that roster as Kyler Murray is on the Cardinals roster. He's going to be out for possibly half the season, and also he was a free agent, unrestricted, and
Yeah.
so he's unrestricted, and there's no telling. And honestly, before I get lowballed for the Cowboys, man, if I'm going to miss 12 games this year, then I might. Well, I don't know, man. I mean, who knows what they do there? And then other than that, you've got, you know what I'm saying? You got a food truck that wears 21. As the other guy in that backfield as well. I mean, so they got to do something. So I guess it makes sense if this is going to be a rough year running the ball, just period. Then maybe a guy who does bring that to the mix, or as a strong suit for him. So I think it makes sense. Or I could see I could see the mixture there, or I made it make sense in my own mind. But how that goes or how that plays out, man, we'll see.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm gonna make this is not necessarily a bold or early bold prediction or anything like that, but I don't see him making much of a difference in terms of where this team was this past year and going into this year. I mean, as far as regular season success, there's not a ton more that you can ask for. Now, when we talk about individual performances in terms of Dak Prescott and the turnovers and certain players and things like that, yeah. But in terms of team success, this team was right there on the cusp of a number one seed in the NFC. So in terms of their overall success as a team and Schottenheimer making a difference as far as that goes, I don't see them, I don't see him making that much of a difference. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be who the Dallas Cowboys are because they have some players in key positions that are going to keep doing what they've always been doing, what we known Dallas to be, what we known Dallas to do. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's going to be probably we're going to be looking at another Dallas team that's going to be super talented as always, but can't necessarily get over that hump in terms of that. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I do like the signing. Congratulations to Schottenheimer for getting the job, but you going. It's almost like a dead end street. You know what's at the end of this cul-de-sac. You know what I'm saying? So go on here, whip around, and come on back off the street. So that's kind of how I look at this situation in terms of that.
No, gotcha.
Cool. On to the next one, Willie Jack. We had our boy, man. I know you got something to say about this one, man. Brian Flores, former head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Of course, we all remember the debacle there and the situation with that, with him, trying to sue the Miami Dolphins for, a few different reasons. But now he gets a job as the defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings, coming from Minnesota, where he was an assistant coach. Oh, I mean, not Minnesota, coming from the Pittsburgh, where Mike Tomlin brought him in. It's like, hey, man, this is a good coach. I'm going to bring him in. We can use him. And that's what they decided to do. So Brian Flores is now the new DC for the Vikings. Okay. And I'll start this one off with Jack in terms of saying, if it's nothing else that Minnesota needs, it's a defense. They needed a defense. You know what I'm saying? They brought over an offensive mind, in the former Rams offensive coordinator a couple years ago. And so their offense looks to be pretty good, especially after bringing over TJ Hockenson. TJ Hockenson seemed like he was a missing piece for that offense. You know what I'm saying? He came up big in a lot of different games, and he opened up things for other players. Of course, we already know they got Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson and all those different things. So the offense is pretty set. They can put up some points. On the defensive side is where they struggled a lot. That's where they gave up 300 yards to Daniel Jones, who only threw for 300 yards 3 times that entire season. By the way, 2 times it was against the Vikings. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, and 70 some yards on the ground. So that defense definitely needs some work. So Brian Flores has his work cut out for him. But if he can go in there and do what we know he can do, then, like you said in your post, Willie Jack, I think we're going to be looking at Brian Flores getting another head coaching opportunity a year after that. The same way we talked about Kellen Moore and him potentially getting an opportunity as a head coach, if he can go and really be successful in that Chargers offense and turn things around for Herbert, I think Brian Flores can do the same. If he can go do some great things for this defense, it'll set him up for his future. And like I said, potentially land him another head coaching job, in which he shouldn't have lost his head coaching job in the first place.
No, I love the hire. And honestly, it's one of those things as well where it tells us the Cardinals job is a dumpster fire. And so I think he was that job was on the table for him, I guess, or what some of the reports I'm saying is that essentially it was his job to turn down or lose, or once they, you know what I'm saying, as things were standing. So he was, I guess, the last of one of the preferred candidates. Who knows? Like I said, depending on which report you've seen or something like that. But essentially, I think he probably could have got that job. I think from some of the reports I've seen, I think he could have had that job. But honestly, I don't like that situation either. I hate that cap space. You've got an overpaid, and now these are, according to whose reports you want to believe, you got an overpaid, potentially arrogant or problemsome superstar quarterback or star quarterback.
Toxic.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Who's also not going to be available for as many as 3 months, the first 3 months of the season. The cap is in a terrible situation. The one star left on the team, and DeAndre Hopkins, he's likely to be moved before this next regular season starts as well. So that's a very, very bad situation. And so he goes and takes this DC job. Now for the Vikings, you couldn't have done better. You flat out couldn't have done better. Got his chops under Bill Belichick with the Patriots. Then got the head job, like my dog was just talking about, in Miami. Really, really revamped and kind of built the legs of what that defense is today. And now I'm anxious to see, like I said, what Vic Fangio does with this defense going forward. But that's built on that's built and groomed and blossomed under Brian Flores' care. Those guys that are in there, that scheme they were currently running, and etc. And so getting here for the Vikings, which, like my dog just said, man, the offense is set as far as the pieces, the names on paper. You know what I mean? You've got the best receiver in the league. You've got a top 5 tight end in the league. You've got a top 10 running back in the league. You've got an O-line that really came together. Christian Darrisaw turned out to be a tremendous success. The other tackle, Brian O'Neill, I think his name, he's probably a top 15, top half of the league tackle as well. The inside's still a little soft, but still. So that offense, and like I said, we saw 17 games, they can score points. And so they can score points in bunches, but that defense was horrendous. And so they've got a couple of decent names. You got Eric Kendricks. You still got Daniil Hunter. You still you bring over Zadarius Smith, and you get him. That secondary, Patrick Peterson had a rebirth year or a bounce back year after a couple down years for him, and he played pretty well this season. You still got an agent Harrison Smith. You got some young guys that got hurt, Lewis Seen and Andrew Booth, who were meant to be big pieces, who didn't get to play this year for injury and et cetera. So you've got some pieces there, but you've got to revamp that scheme, and he's the right guy to do it. And so his impact on my Steelers, like I said, he came over as a defensive assistant with us. Everybody on offense and defense rave about what he did for us in such a short period of time. And mind you, our run defense last year, for a lot of reasons, our run defense last year was last in league. And then this year, which was uncommon, I should say that's extremely uncommon. But this year, from last in league, we come back and then his fingerprints are all on that. If you talk to the people in the building, and I think we went back up to like 12th or something like that. And there's a lot of credit being passed around and passed his way. And so I fully expect him to go there, to be successful, to turn that defense around. I would imagine they were a bottom 5 ranked defense in the league. I don't know if you said that or if we talked about it, but if I had to imagine they were probably bottom 5, I would fully expect them to jump into, at the very least, middle of the pack. And potentially, like I said, we're going into draft season. Who knows, just depending on what they do here, who knows just how much they can improve. Maybe they can threaten towards, 12 or threaten that top 10. So excellent stopover or landover for him. I fully expect in the next coaching cycle, he's going to be a head coach, a head man somewhere. And so I think for him in the long run, man, I think this is probably the better move. I'd rather see him take this move than take a terrible Cardinals job and set yourself up for failure and then be an easy scapegoat. And then the guys who are maybe not, maybe the guys who are preying on your downfall, give them ammunition because you stepped into a horrendous situation in Arizona. So I think it makes sense on all sides.
For sure. With you there, Willie Jack. With you there. Any comments you want to run through real quick, or are you good?
You said what's up?
I said any comments, or you want me to keep it pushing?
Okay, yeah, that's what I was just gonna say, man. Come shout out, man. So we got my sister, man. Little sister's the first one in the building today. Appreciate you. My mama was right behind her. Man, Miss Tanya in the building. One of my sister's clients, man. So she stopped in as well to check us out. Hey, we appreciate the love, Miss Tanya. And then my dog, man, my dog from the crib from high school, my dog CP, man, Calvin Patterson, man. He stopped to show us some love, man. He said he getting his workout in. He wanted to stop to show some love, man. Before he go hit the gym and do his thing and there. So, hey, we appreciate the love, bro.
For sure, for sure. On to the next one, Willie Jack. We got your boy, man, and we talked a little bit about him on our last show as well. But Steve Wilkes, interim head coach towards the second half of the season for the Carolina Panthers. He ends up landing a defensive coordinator job with the 49ers. Okay, a spot that was vacated by defensive uh, defensive coordinator D'Amico Ryans, who is now head coach of the Houston Texans. Man, big shoes to fill in that particular position. Steve Wilkes, how you feel about that one, man?
And another one, man. I love that move and I love that fit as well. And so, Steve Wilkes, man, that Panthers defense for everything that went wrong with that team, that Panthers defense definitely showed a lot of promise, and they were a tough matchup for a lot of teams. So they were able to. He was able to go 6-6 in his interim stint, and a lot of that is going to be credited to that defense. That defense playing lights out or playing tough and making teams go the long way, and like I said, and keeping them in a lot of those games, and then that team rallying and finding ways to win them. And so it definitely wasn't on the arm of Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, four-timer PJ Walker. Then you lose CJ, you lose, say Christian McCaffrey, or ownership sends him to the Niners. Then you got some guys, Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard from Oklahoma State, picking up the slack in those pieces. And so that the crux of, I guess, the success he had was his defense. And so now he goes to San Francisco. I love the landing spot for him as well. And so, of course, if he didn't get the Carolina job, which would have been nice to see. And then depending on how you feel about that, whatever. But if you've got to fall somewhere, you know what I'm saying? Like if you got to have what better land? It's an upgrade in position for him. So he goes from DC of the Panthers to now DC of the runner-up in the NFC, the Niners, in a defense that is absolutely loaded with talent. A defensive player of the year, hopefully Nick Bosa, a very young breakout performance by soon-to-be star safety and
Talanoa Hufanga.
There you go, Tula, who mentioned. Yeah, you got, him, and then Tre'Davious Ward comes over from the Chiefs and has a very solid season. So a lot of pieces to work with. A lot of that foundation is already laid. And so honestly, man, that's one of those things where you want to come in there, you don't want to mess anything up. And so now we'll see how he puts his spin and his principles in play there. But as far as the landing spot and the fit, I love it both ways.
Yeah, and the way that he used certain players over there in Carolina reminds me of the way that they can do things over in San Francisco. The safety Jeremy Chin, man, he had him in the mix a lot. And Talanoa Hufanga will be the perfect player for that match, to run a similar scheme as that. Now, of course, a lot of the other players are different, but you still had a dominant pass rusher in Brian Burns. But who you got now? You upgraded that position now because you got Nick Bosa. Like you said, potential defensive player of the year. So I like that move for Steve Wilkes as well. Definitely an upgrade. Definitely got a lot of stuff put in position. He's got he's going to an organization that is that their foundation is strong. So he's gonna come in, he's gonna fit right in. And according to what we've seen from Steve Wilkes just in these last few games, he go in there. Another guy that could potentially be getting another chance, in a couple of years or so. So he's in a great position for sure. The team is like I said, got a good foundation, and he's put himself in a great position to, upgrade as the years go on as well. So I like the move as well, Willie Jack. I'm with you on that one. Let's switch gears a little bit, though, Willie Jack. Let's switch gears, man. We talked about a few coaches, a few offensive coordinators, 2 defensive coordinators. Now let's switch gears, man. Now we already talked about Tom Brady. We talked about him and him going through, or him announcing that he's retired for the second time. And we told you can't do that no more, Tom Brady. You done. And he knew that in his retirement speech. He pretty much told everybody, I ain't finna make this, all long and drawn out. I already used that card. What I'm saying? I already played my Joker. I'm just gonna throw out this Jack of Heart real quick. What I mean? That's what he had to do. But big money bag. Fox Sports, man. They signed Tom Brady, and we kind of knew about this contract too, but they signed Tom Brady to a 10-year, $375 million contract to be an analyst for Fox Sports, man, and be in a booth. And this was a deal that was on the table last year, and it was essentially waiting on him. And it was up to him to say, either I want it or I don't want it, and it's always, I think it's a good move, well, for sure for him, because go get your money, but like most people want to get in the mind of a guy like Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? Most people want to get in the mind of a guy like Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? That's why when they came out with the Michael Jordan what was it?
Oh, the docuseries.
Yeah, when they came out with that, it was so big. Everybody wanted to see inside of what was going on with Michael. Like, what were practices like? You know, what was in his mind? What was he saying in those practices? What was he doing behind the scenes? We all seen him play. We seen the greatness, but what was going on behind the scenes? You know, and this is a different version of that, but you'll get a chance to see how he views the game. When he talks about it, when he analyzes play-by-plays and goes through it, you get a chance to see how Tom Brady sees it, how he breaks it down. Kind of sort of like Tony Romo. Now Tony Romo is not Tom Brady. We know that. You know what I'm saying? But people, based off of what they got from Tony Romo and Tony Romo being able to see it, break down the coverages for the fans, and then also be able to call out plays like, all right, this is what's pretty much about to happen, and it happened on cue routinely. Then it's like, okay, well, when Tom Brady step out here, I know it's gonna be something then. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Tony Romo can do it, I only can imagine what it's gonna be like when Tom Brady is behind there and he's calling those plays or he's doing the play-by-play analysis. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what this is going to look like, what it's going to sound like with Tom Brady, you know, in the booth and being able to give his judgment and break down the games. And like I said, just get his point of view. You know what I'm saying? It's a different point of view. And it's, for a lot of people, it's the greatest player who's ever played the game point of view. You know what I'm saying? So I like it. Go get your bag. Go get your money. It's crazy because it's more money than you done made in your career. But hey, man, go get your bread, man. Go get your bread. We excited for you. Good deal for you, man. And yeah, I'm excited to see what comes of it.
No, for sure, man. And then a couple comments, man. So Eclipse in the building. He said that'd be dope for Tom Brady to do. And then, man, our dog, Brother Red, man, No Versus the Podcast in the building, man. He said y'all think Greg Olsen will stay at Fox, maybe some style of 3-man booth with Brady. And so, and I'm glad, Brother Red, man, and No Versus the Podcast. Y'all check my dog out, man. I'm glad he brought up Greg Olsen because that's what I was gonna do. Greg Olsen has very quickly turned into my favorite commentator. Like, I love, like, just. It's real deal, no frills, just like a guy who was he just came out of the locker room and started just talking ball and they put a camera in front of his face. Like, I love it. Like, I love how, like, his take on the games is a different flavor than Romo. And that's the thing too. I'm glad that, like, Romo's kind of sparkle has kind of worn off a little bit because it'd have been very hard to come in right behind what Romo.
Yeah, it'd have been hard.
You know what I mean? So now, you know what I mean? Like, Romo's still doing his thing, of course. You know, he's got that whole shtick going, or whatever the case. But now, you know what I mean? Now we've adjusted. Now we know what it is. It's not blinding you when you look at it. You know what I'm saying? So now I think it's an easier transition to where, I mean, I'm sure people will still try to pull comparisons from whatever Brady gives us, but just on the surface and just seeing him all these years, Brady's demeanor, he's way more of a much more stoic sort of kind of figure in the media. You know, he's very kind of reserved. He tactfully has like that just fiery undertones of competitiveness. You know what I'm saying? Then he's also super wholesome. He'll cry at the drop of a hat if he talks about his dad or his kids. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's going to be like pure just technical X and O breakdowns like what Romo was doing earlier. Was okay, you see they got 3-by-1 on the 8-yard line on this 3rd and 6 here, Jim. Look for, you know, you get a backside angle, you'll get a Houston. I don't think it's going to be like that, you know what I'm saying? But I think it may be more so maybe more so to like situational.
I was listening to you, Willie. I was gonna see how you call
it. I could have did something now. I needed me to now. I could have did something. But yes, I'm curious to see just kind of like how it goes and where he takes it. Because honestly, Drew Brees, when's the last time somebody seen him talking about the game? Because it didn't work. You know what I mean? Like it just didn't work. And so we'll see how Tom fares. Now the thing about Tom and Drew, like I said, that's a different universe. That's a different stratosphere. So Tom Brady's name sells tickets before he says anything. All right, Tom Brady's name, he's gonna break whatever viewership record for any podcast. He's gonna break whatever record they have for first time tune in viewers.
That's the reason you signed a $375 million contract without ever having an interview.
Hey, Lexa, cue the young dog. Come on, y'all know what's going on. Yeah, so man, major bag alert. But no, man. So like you said, I don't know how they'll play that out, Brother Red. And honestly, man, it may be one of those things where Greg Olsen just has to go to the 2 booth. I mean, just period. I mean, he may just have to go to the 2 booth. And so if they give Tom that prime or premium like number one booth. Much like when Tony Romo came over and he bumped Phil Simms out of his booth spot. You know, Phil Simms and Jim Nance had that number one booth like setting or whatever they did, the premium games, etc. And then when Tony Romo came over, Phil Simms got knocked into the studio with Strahan and Bradshaw and all those guys where he is now to make room for Romo. And so as much as I like Greg Olson and his commentary, and I'm sure a lot of us do, he's not going to slow down, change the price of cheese in China. If Tom Brady said he's ready, Tom Brady's ready. Hey, I'm sorry, big dog, you got to get that up. If Kobe came to your team and somebody wearing 8, you can give up 8, or you can find another team, big dog. What you want to do. That's just how that's going to go. You know what I'm saying? So Tom Brady is going to wear his number. Some players got to pay for their number. Tom is one of them guys, he ain't paying for 12. Tom come here, don't matter who was 12 or how long you was 12. Tom said he want 12. Take it off, big dog. Right now, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, so that's how that's gonna go, man. But no, I really enjoy Olsen though, man. I want to say that again. Like, I really enjoy listening to him. And honestly, man, I don't think he's gonna. He seems to be a type of guy like he knows what's up as well. I can imagine. First off, he's already a tight end, and he just fresh out the locker room. Everybody know you. If you're on the team, man, like it, love it. Otherwise, we know, man, the quarterback is the quarterback. So you can argue and fuss about it all you want to. It don't matter. That's the quarterback. So if they gonna tell him, man, you're gonna slide to the number 2, man, we gotta make room for Tom, man. He gonna be a good soldier, about to keep doing his thing. And so that's what I would expect.
So here I got something here for you, Willie Jack. So this is what I'm thinking, man. And well, one, I feel like the quarterback to the broadcasting position is like a power forward to the tight end position in the NFL. You know what I'm saying?
And a traditional forward, though, not a stretch forward, not a pretty Anthony Davis. I'm pulling up for 22 feet for. Nah, we're talking Andre Drummond. I'm still on the low block. I'm trying to get 14 boards for one of them.
Yeah. So in the sense where it's like, all right, once we found this first power forward that can come into this NFL and play tight end and be successful, okay, well, we're gonna start looking for these. You know what I mean? So essentially, now we know there's been quarterbacks who been behind the booth before, but once we found once Tony Romo hit, that opened up a new door. It was like, if quarterbacks could come in and they could see the game full view like this, we might want to start looking for QBs for this position first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? Here's what I want to see: quarterbacks are the quarterback. They're the quarterback of they quarterbacks are the quarterback. But the middle linebacker is the quarterback of the defense. I want to see a quarterback middle linebacker booth. You know what I'm saying? Give me a Luke Kuechly, Tom Brady booth. Give me a Tony Romo. You know what I'm saying? Well, we know we ain't gonna see Ray Lewis do game. We ain't gonna see him do game.
Yeah, not play by play.
Give me those type of minds though. You know
now Luke is interesting.
They can see it because Luke he's a good speaker too. He's got that charisma. Yeah. He's got a little bit of that. You see both of them in the booth. Who putting together the game, putting the game together in the booth at the same time? Hey man,
well I'll tell you honestly,
somebody might need to hire me so I can put some pieces together. I'm trying to tell you.
Well, but here's another thing about that that's interesting as well is like that would probably be a first because if you notice, they haven't let like 2 former players just share their booth themselves. So they normally pair a player with a veteran broadcaster. So Jim Nance and Tony Romo. Jim Nance was with Phil Simms before that. Even Troy Aikman and the other dude and Buck. There you go. Yeah, Troy Aikman and Buck. So normally when it's a former player, they you know what I mean, they keep an established guy in there. I don't know if that's to help keep them on track or maybe in the original days that's probably the mindset of thinking. But yeah, that'd be interesting, man, to see if as things are going now where players have just as much media training as the media guys these days. And so it's a different day and age. And so especially with a guy like Kuechly, man, I just say that because I can see it. As soon as you say that, like I'd love a booth with Kuechly.
Just picture that, man.
You know what I mean? Like I love that.
Because you see him breaking the game down from both aspects. And you talking about Luke Kuechly, who knew what your offense was doing before your offense did it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you got him breaking it down from the defensive perspective, Tom Brady breaking it down from an offensive perspective. But then you also got the natural combativeness between offense and defense, offense and defensive player. That can that can get you some views, man. Alone, that can get you a few views. So I don't know. That's what I was thinking of that, man. You know, I'm here for it. You know, I ain't no CEO or nothing or hiring nobody. You know what I'm saying? But hey, I'm just putting it out there. And if anybody try to take my idea, man, y'all owe me. Send me my bread.
Sure, hey, y'all better send it.
Greg Olsen, man, send me my bread, man. I said wood oil machines. Send me my bread.
There you go.
There you go. All right, man. And on to the next one, Willie Jack. And last but not least in terms, well, not last but not least in terms of news, but another news, a guy that you were a big fan of, even coming out, you know what I'm saying, going into this to it, man. AJ Green, man. AJ Green announced his retirement as from the NFL. He after playing 12 seasons, finished with over 10,000 yards, 10,514 career yards, man, 70 touchdowns, you know, over 700 receptions, 727 receptions, man, a really, really good career. Like I said, Willie Jack, I know this was your guy, man, so I'll let you kind of lead the way and talk about AJ Green, man.
No, man, that definitely was a favorite of mine, man. There was a stretch in time where he was my absolute favorite receiver in the league. You know what I mean? And he came in, he was in the same class as Julio Jones. I'm not gonna lie, I was always carrying the banner. AJ Green was better than Julio. I don't care what nobody say, man. Coming in, he was better in college. He was better his first 5-6 years in this league, if you ask me. And then and here's the thing about it as well, that we give a lot of credit to Mike Evans, as we should, because I think he had his 7th consecutive 1,000-yard season. Well, AJ Green had 6, and then the year that he didn't was an injury-plagued year that broke his own streak or record of 1,000-yard seasons as well. And like I said, man, he did it in a place like Cincinnati. He did it with a average to slightly above average quarterback named Andy Dalton. He did it in a division where his team was fighting to be the third team in a pretty powerful division, especially at that time, man, behind the Steelers and the Ravens. And so, man, it's one of those things where situation and circumstance, man, things that could have been. You know, I'd have loved to see him somewhere else to where he could have really blossomed into a perennial. I mean, well, he was a perennial Pro Bowler for sure, but still like a place in a division or a place with a quarterback that could have really, I think, kind of same thing I said about AJ Johnson or Andre Johnson. You know what I mean? Like they could have been much greater stars in other places. Whereas now, you know, there are guys that you name and you list and like they're respected. And you know they had talent, you know they had the goods. He's got great numbers, but didn't necessarily reach the level of recognition at the very peak that I think he could. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to think of a player that I could even. It doesn't matter, but anyway, man, hats off to you, AJ Brown, man. Like I said, I was a huge fan, dog. Still a huge fan. Like I said,
AJ Green.
AJ Green. Look at that, my dog. Look at that. But yeah, AJ Green, man, was a huge fan, man. So you finally hang it up. His last catch was that kind of catch he made in double coverage and broke 2 or 3 tackles and ran a touchdown.
That was his last catch.
That was his last catch. Last play of his career. And so, yeah, man, if you can't go out with a win, man, at least go out with a bang. And he did that. And so, hey, congratulations, brother. Man, one of those guys that'll unfortunately fall into the Hall of Very Good, but definitely could have been a guy with a gold jacket, man. And if it's some of those things, it plays out in a different way or in a different place for him.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that, Willie Jack, because and this is why I always say, and this is an example of why I say situations they matter for players, man. And this was a situation for this guy. Now, don't get me wrong, he was good, you know what I'm saying, and he was, you know, at the top. And me and Willie Jack would go back and forth and talk about him, you know, so who was better in whatever circumstances, you know, especially during his first 5 years, you know, in the league, you know, 13, 14, you know, 100-yard seasons, 10, 11 touchdowns. Yeah, he was definitely up there, you know what I'm saying? So, but with the situation in terms of the amount of talent around him, the amount of guys that really could have been, you know, they really could have helped change his career. And it's crazy that you did mention that being his last catch, because how many times have we seen it? How many times have we seen him come up with those catches? I still remember the one where he caught a deep ball, shook off a couple tacklers, and then he had a chance to jog in the end zone against Baltimore to win the game and punted the ball in the stands. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was plays like that.
Right sideline. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know exactly the play.
AJ Green for real, man. That boy is for real. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, shout out to AJ Green, man. like I said, had a phenomenal season. Didn't mention the Pro Bowls, 7-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
You know, he was a legit Pro Bowler though. Now this is not no fake Pro Bowler. This is not those list of quarterbacks that we just mentioned that was in a Pro Bowl this year.
12 guys didn't have to back
Tyler
out
Huntley,
before we got to AJ Green. Yeah.
Tyler Huntley, Derek Carr, and Trevor Lawrence. Hey man, that was legit Pro Bowlers. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to him, man. Phenomenal career. And yeah, like you said, Willie Jacket. Unfortunately, because of circumstance, he'll probably fall in the Hall of Very Good instead of what could have been a Hall of Fame career. All right. Now,
real quick, man, let me shout out, man. One of them members jumped in the building as well, man, in the chat. Jeff in the building, man. Our resident, one of the Eagles fan, man. He jumped in here, man. Bird game, man. Shout out to you, dog. I know it's a big week for you, man. I hope you're getting your rest. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you out there pulling your, you know what I'm saying, restless sleep, pulling your hair out, man, waiting for this game Sunday.
Yeah, he gonna need it. He definitely gonna need all his rest. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna need you rooting for him at full strength, Jeff. You know what I'm saying? So I hope you 100% ready to go, man. You need to be ready to go. All right. On to the next one, Willie Jack, and I'll let you kind of kick this one off, man. We had some draft talk. My guy made a post in a group this week, man, a couple days ago. And he brought some draft talk, man. And we had a guy who came in and had a comment. Greg Squires, man, who's been a faithful member of the film fam of Let the Film Speak. So first and foremost, we appreciate you, Greg. I don't know if you're in here right now, but we definitely appreciate you. But Willie Jack, I'll let you kind of take it away in terms of, the draft talk, what the conversation was about, and so on.
For sure. Yes, I posted in the group, man. Like I said, man, I'm diving full-fledged in the draft season now, man. So like I said, I'm getting in the field, man. I'm breaking guys down. I'm looking at teams. I'm looking at team needs. I'm looking at players. I'm looking at fits. I'm doing mocks. I'm getting in my draft bag right now, man. So if y'all didn't see the post, man, hey, I'm here for it, man. Y'all questions, concerns, man. What's your team need? Players your team look at, or a player you got a question about, man, my opinion on anything draft related, man, I'm here for the conversation, man. We can talk about it, man. We can debate about it. It's all good fun for me. So either way, man, my dog, Greg Squires, like I told us, man, like I just told y'all, man, one of the members, man, he took me up on my offer. He's a Raiders fan, man. He has some questions for me about what I think happens with his Raiders at 7. He was mentioning with the talk about Aaron Rodgers possibly, coming there to reunite with Devontae Adams. Do they still look at a quarterback? Do they do something else? And then he had, essentially, if it's a quarterback, who do I think or what's likely? And if not, he was definitely talking about that defense, man, having tons of holes and maybe a guy at 7 on the defensive side that I could see them going after. And so the first part of that question, man, whether A-Ryan comes to Vegas or not, I think they still are in the market for a quarterback. The guy at that time, at least to me, the guy at that time in that space for that pick at 7, assuming they stay there and don't trade, would be Will Levis from Kentucky. And so, like I say, I mean, that'd be the guy. I think if you don't have A.A. Ryan, you're going to have to get a guy anyway, so they probably get Levis. And even if you do get A.A. Ryan, realistically, how long do you have him? You know what I mean? So is it going to be a 1-year, 2-year rental or whatever the case? So if you're still wanting to look ahead, then maybe you still go ahead and get a guy like Levis, big guy, strong arm guy, decent enough athlete, very good arm, not necessarily not otherworldly arm. It's not a Josh Allen. It's not a Justin Herbert style arm, but very, very good arm, a Jameis Winston arm. You know what I mean? So very, very strong, powerful arm. But anyway, that'd be the way I go there. On the other side, man, if we're talking defense, picking at 7 is still, like I said, I'm assuming the blue chip guys, Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, those guys be gone. Depending on, like I say, how I see a couple of other guys falling at 5 and 6 ahead of them. But a guy that may be there and in my mind is definitely worth it, man. Devon Witherspoon, man. Devon Witherspoon, the corner out of Illinois. He's about 6 foot, 185 pounds. And I heard this said on, I want to say PFF, but they hit it right on the head because it's the same thing I saw as well. Gives very strong Jair Alexander vibes. I'm talking about like similar build and like that similar like stop and go burst, click and close burst, like that real short area quickness burst. Like, man, put my foot in the ground, I'm right back on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he's got a lot of that. Not the biggest guy, not shy at all. Will come dig in your chest, and so man, it's very talented guy. So he's a guy I can see at 7 as well, man. If you're going that way, like, so you got Max Crosby up front. You brought over with Chandler Jones as well. I mean, you still got some holes and some soft spots in the front seven, but picking there with the blue chip guys in the front seven gone, I think probably, like I said, get the most bang for your buck, man. Get the top cover guy in this class, in Devon Witherspoon, man, and tighten up that back end as well.
For sure, Willie Jack. I can't argue with you there, man. I will be getting into my draft. You know what I'm saying? My draft stuff a little bit later on. But guarantee you, when I come with it, Willie Jack, I hope you got everything ready, bro. Because I'm gonna tell you who to want to pick and tell you who to stay away from. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm gonna go with.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So that does it for the news, man. Does it for the beginning portion of the show. And with us being at this point now, Willie Jack, I think it's about that time, man. I think it's about that time you talk to them, let them know what's going on, pay these bills. You know, that way we can continue to move on and we can jump into these awards, man. These season award predictions.
Yeah.
I know what we think, man. So let's go ahead, Willie Jack. Go ahead and talk to him.
Hey, you heard what my dog said, man. Without further ado, man, tonight's episode of Let the Film Speak, hosted by your dogs, Chop Willie Jack, man. The very handsome and intelligent brothers of Let the Film Speak is brought to you by the sponsorship, man. That's the OG, man. That's the Three Amigos. Now, come on. That's like, that, share, that, subscribe. That's the Three Amigos. That's Three the Hard Way. That's the three-piece spicy. You cannot go wrong. Like, share, subscribe. Now, y'all know what I'm about to say, man. There's Three Amigos, but there's 4 parts to this process. You feel me? So, first thing you got to do is just, when you get to the crib, just be respectful. That's all we ask. Just come in, speak to everybody, holler. Hey, what's going on, big dog? Hey, how y'all living, man? Hey, what's going on, man? Tap in with the Three Amigos, man. That's like, share, subscribe. Then, move on to second base. You know what I'm saying? Getting a hit ain't enough. How many guys hit singles that don't get home, Chop? It's a lot of them. It's a lot of those guys.
Get stuck on third. Hey, man, you got to come on home.
There you go. So, hey, like, share, subscribe, man, to Three Amigos. That just gets you on base. You ain't scored yet, big dog, because then you got to tell a friend. You know what I'm saying? Then you got to tell your friend to tell a friend. Then, because you get stranded on third, we want you to come on home. Tell your friend's friend to bring one more because we need 4, man. Tell your friend's friend to bring his partner too, man. Bring everybody up into the penthouse. Y'all see what's going on. It's real nice in here. We living in the lap of luxury. It's real lavish around this thing. Y'all know what we get down in here. So, hey, man, like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend. Tell your friend to tell a friend. Tell your friend's friend to bring his partner too, man. Come in there and holler and kick it with your dogs and let the film speak. Now, back to the regularly scheduled program. Let's get it.
All right, Willie Jack, let's go ahead and jump into this, man. And, of course, we already told y'all we're going to jump into some of these awards. And we know the award ceremony is going to come up pretty soon. You know, it's going to be some stuff coming out, man. We're going to find out who's going to win the MVP, Coach of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, rookies, all those different awards. But guess what? Me and Willie Jack, we're going to give it to you right now, man. We're going to talk to you. We're going to let you know why certain players need to win certain awards, man. And first and foremost, since we already started off talking about the coaches, I think it's best that we go ahead and start off with the coaching candidates, man. The finalists for the Coach of the Year award. You know what I mean? So the finalists include, you know, head coach Brian Daboll, you know what I mean? Head coach of the New York Giants, a guy who we've been talking about a lot this season in terms of what he did for this Giants team. The Giants team who nobody thought would be able to make the playoffs, end up being 9-7-1 and making the playoffs and even knocking off a 13-4 Minnesota Vikings team in the first round, you know what I'm saying, to make it to the divisional round in the playoffs. So definitely a nice job by head coach Brian Daboll. Another finalist in this particular of this award is head coach Kyle Shanahan, man. Head coach Kyle Shanahan, man. What can I say, man? A head coach who actually was in position to get the number 1 seed, you know, ended up 13-4 in the season as well. And with the Eagles winning, they could, of course, they took care of the number 1 seed. But a guy who had to finish this season off with his 3rd string quarterback. He lost his 1st string quarterback in the 2nd week of the season. Then rolled with Jimmy G, which all right, we know he's a viable starter, but then have to roll with Brock Purdy, who nobody knew anything about, who was considered or actually who was Mr. Irrelevant. And then last but not least, of course, we got Doug Peterson, man, head coach. And first-year head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who finished 9-8, end up taking this division away from the Tennessee Titans. You know, during the last game of the season, they end up taking care of that and upsetting I guess you can call it an upsetting the Chargers in the first round of the playoffs. So these are the 3 guys that are in the running for the Coach of the Year. Willie Jack, what are your thoughts on this, man? And then ultimately tell me who you got, man. Who's gonna win?
Yeah, well, so for me, man, this was really, I think, a 3-horse race for me. Brian Daboll, the job he did with the Giants for sure. Nick Sirianni, like I said, as dominant as that Eagles team was, man, like I said, the most dominant team for me from start to finish, outside of a very poorly officiated game against the Washington Commanders, and then 2 games without MVP hope for Jalen Hurts. Outside of that, man, just a team that just dominated from start to kill. So Nick Sirianni with the Eagles, Brian Daboll, the job he did, salvaging and resurrecting the career of Daniel Jones, man, who was he was about to take his first step in the Geno's trek, man. It looked like he was going to be one and done as a starter, and then maybe have to go the long way, man, to see if he can resurface and what's the right word, man? Whatever that word is, resurface and recapture a starting role in the league. There was a better word, man. Forgive me. But anyway, so Brian Daboll, Sirianni, then of course Kyle Shanahan. And for me, man, I'm not gonna lie, you've got to go Shanahan. Or for me, I had to go Shanahan because of just like we said, man. So there's the whole quarterback controversy doesn't even seem to be the right word. You know what I mean? Because the controversy implies that it was a distraction. It tore a team apart, and every time he lost a quarterback, it didn't do anything but bring that team closer together. It didn't do anything but tighten that team's focus. It didn't even do anything but sharpen that team's resolve. And so things that crumble organizations, we've seen, you know what I mean? Like we saw the Colts, we saw the Colts crumble 1 year without Peyton Manning, and then fumble through the process of letting Peyton Manning walk to make room for Andrew Luck. I mean, so we've just seen how devastating that type of loss could be at that position. And so you've got Trey Lance, the guy that the guy that you had that you're still waiting to see if he could be a guy. He goes down. Now, honestly, at that time when he went down, I said then they were going to the NFC Championship. When healthy Jimmy G was announced to start week 2 or 3, I on this show told Chop the Niners are going to the NFC Championship because of all the things that we saw. This roster, this is before Christian McCaffrey. But like I said, it was the Warriors. You know what I'm saying? That was Steph, Clay, and KD Warriors. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the talent that this team had. And with the defense being back and healthy, like I said, they were only 2 years from being in the Super Bowl and having been in a position to win that Super Bowl from Patty. And so then boom, you get that. Jimmy's not playing great, but you're winning. Okay. And then you lose Jimmy. And then who comes in to save the day but Mr. Irrelevant? 256 guys get picked in the NFL draft. And you got number 256. You know what I mean? That's the guy. That's the guy who came in. Yeah. And then what does he do? Rallies the team, holds the fort down, makes a play here and there, doesn't get in the way, doesn't do anything to hamper the team winning, and you don't lose. And then, you like I say, he goes 8-0 and up and through the NFC Championship game. And then, as fate would have it, or, poor luck, honestly, some poor offensive scheme work by Kyle Shanahan, man. As much as I love you on offense, as much as I want to love you up, man, for everything that you do schematically and et cetera, I got to give you got to let you know on this other side as well. You can't leave a tight end to block Hassan Reddick. That first series, Hassan Reddick ruined. He won that game for the Eagles in the first 2 series because they had the second string tight end. It wasn't even Juszczyk, and not as great as Juszczyk is. He can't go head up with a premier pass rusher, not in just straight on the line rush go time. But it's not even him. You got this other whoever it was trying to block him, and Hassan Reddick almost snatches Brock Purdy's elbow out of socket. And so then you resort to Josh Johnson. I believe it was Josh. Yeah, Josh Johnson, man. And credit to you, brother. I don't want to knock and bring you down because I can't be mad at his performance because what we expect. You know what I mean? Like if he was a guy that was going to go out there against the number 1 team in professional football in the biggest game of the season on the road in Philly, if he was going to go out there and go 30 for 39 for 325 yards and 4 touchdowns, well, then somebody's got to explain and do why he's been on 12 teams in 15 years. And so, like I said, man, I don't want to hold that against Josh as well. And so, like I said, man, but to get that team where they were with the guys that got them there, you know what I mean? It's phenomenal, man. I don't know if there's another coach in the league that could have did what Kyle Shanahan did with the cards he was dealt. And like I said, and even then, even when you knock him down to his 3rd string rookie, Mr. Irrelevant quarterback, if that guy doesn't get his arm torn out of socket, you may have a chance in that game. You know what I mean? That game may be there for the winning. You know what I mean? So, I mean, who knows, man. So for me, man, I got to give it to Kyle. I got to give it to Kyle Shanahan. I went a long way to tell y'all Kyle Shanahan got it for me, man.
Okay, I got you, Willie Jack. And actually, I agree with you, man. I agree with you on the Kyle Shanahan because I don't know if we telling this same story for any other quarterback in the any other coach in NFL. I don't know if any other coach can sit and say if we got down to our third string quarterback, we would go undefeated all the way up into the NFC Championship game or the AFC Championship game. That's just hard to do, and it's just not done. Now, granted, he does have a well-oiled machine, like I've been saying, eat all year long. You know what I'm saying? He already had that in place. That was stamped. You know what I'm saying? Put it up, put it on the shelf. It was stamped already. You know what I'm saying? So he had that all, and like you said, Brock Purdy, all he had to do was come in and just, keep the ship afloat. And he did that. But even that says a lot about what you have to do as a head coach, because a lot of guys can't do that. Like I said, you will see a ship fall completely apart. You know what I mean, for a lot of these teams. So I love what he did, man. And as much as I love what Brian Daboll did in terms of what their team's expectations were and things like that, I saw a lot of questionable things with him as well. The usage of certain players. You know what I mean? The usage of.
Man, go ahead and say Saquon's name, man.
Everybody know that. Everybody know. But the usage of a guy like Saquon Barkley. You know what I'm saying? The how that was orchestrated within that particular team and the certain decisions that was made coming down the stretch, were a little questionable. You came out on the winning side earlier in the season, but I think me and you both said this, Willie Jack, who y'all were towards the end of the season or second half of the season was pretty much who y'all really were. You know what I'm saying? So you cooled off a lot. But all in all, man, to keep that team playing at that level, to say and still score about 30 points a game, with your third string, yeah, I got to go Kyle Shanahan with this, man. I think he deserves that Coach of the Year award, and, that's who I would go with as well.
For sure. And then, man, shout out to my dog, Jeff, man, reestablish. How couldn't I think of reestablish yourself as a starter when I was talking about Daniel Jones, man? My dog, Jeff, in the chat, man, that's exactly what I was looking for. I knew it was started with an R. I don't know what I said.
He said re.
I just couldn't get reestablish. Shout out to my dog, Jeff. That's exactly what I was looking for, bro, so I appreciate you.
All right. Well, appreciate you, Jeff, man. Appreciate you. Well, let's move on, Willie Jack. And speaking of Brock Purdy, man, we might as well go ahead and talk about Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates. And one of those candidates, of course, is rookie Brock Purdy, man. Rookie Brock Purdy come in. He plays in more than 6 games, but 6 meaningful games. You know what I'm saying? The game where Jimmy G got hurt early in the first quarter, you know what I'm saying? Where Miami started off. I don't know if you remember. I think when Miami's first play of the game, they throw a slant to I think Jalen Waddle. He takes about 70 to the house. You know what I'm saying? So, and then Brock Purdy comes in the game down, and they end up coming back and winning that game. You know what I'm saying? So he comes into that game, but then he starts 5 additional games after that. And let's keep in mind, y'all, this is a regular season award. This is not a award that includes the playoffs. This is regular season only. And Brock Purdy came in. He did his thing for those 5 games. 1,300 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, man. You can't ask for much more from a quarterback coming in like that. Another one of those candidates, man, is wide receiver Garrett Wilson, man. Rookie Garrett Wilson comes into this season, man, on a Jets team who pretty much played the quarterback carousel, man. They played Zach Wilson, they played Mike White, they played Joe Flacco, and he still managed to play, of course, all 17 games, end up with over 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards, 4 touchdowns in his first season, not 83 receptions as a rookie, man. So a really, really good first season. And what my dog Willie Jack says, man, the cream always rises to the top. So no matter who was the starting quarterback of this team, man, Garrett Wilson showed that he could produce. No matter who was throwing the rock, I'm going to produce. I'm going to get open.
Put it in my hands, I'm getting buckets.
Just put it in my hands, and I'm going to get a bucket. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's what it was for Garrett Wilson. He did his thing his first year. And then last but not least, man, over in Seattle, we had the running back Kenneth Walker, man, come in, spill, starting running back Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny goes down with a season-ending injury. And what does Kenneth Walker come in and do? Rush 228 times for 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? And then also has, 27 receptions and 165 yards too. Since he comes in, was a a guy that this Seattle team could really rely on as the running back and really lean on him and really do what Pete Carroll wanted to do. You know, and you got to give him his credit there. He shows that he has tremendous talent, and we may be looking at him as the starter of this Seattle Seahawks team as they move forward, depending on what they want to do with Rashad Penny. But I still think Kenneth Walker is the guy you go with. He's a young guy, and Rashad Penny's still young too, but I think you go with Kenneth Walker there. That's what they drafted him for, and maybe you move on from Rashad Penny. But all in all, man, I got to go with Garrett Wilson, man. Garrett Wilson is my rookie of the year on offense, man. Like I said, man, my dog Willie Jack says it, cream rises to the top. And he performed all year long. He made big catches, including game-winning catches in a couple games. And it didn't matter, man. He showed up for this offense and showed that he can be a true difference maker. Brock Purdy, great season, phenomenal. Not taking anything away from what you did, but it's only 5 games, sir. You know what I'm saying? That's a 5-game sample. Not saying that, he couldn't continue to do that all year long, but it's 5 games. And,
it wasn't 7 games?
Including the playoffs, it was. You know what I'm saying? He played in 6. Like I said, the
played in 6. Okay, yeah. That's
first game he didn't start, and then the rest of them he started 5 of them. He started 5 games. So on his record, what they got is 5-0. But he's played in 6 games. So but those games you were sitting on the bench while the 49ers team was still playing well and doing their thing, Garrett Wilson was out there grinding. You know what I'm saying? And he put his team in position to almost make the playoffs. He made a difference immediately. He's going to continue to get better. And I got Garrett Wilson with this, man. He with the way that he grinded all season long, and I feel like he deserves this Offensive Rookie of the Year award.
No, and I think for me, man, I think I had those same 3 guys. Well, honestly, for me, man, it was realistically it was between Garrett Wilson and Brock Purdy. Also, man, a guy I want to shout out, Chris Olave. Chris Olave, especially to start the season with everything that was going on with New Orleans, man, back and forth between Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston, Michael Thomas showing up for 2 weeks and then cashing it in. Jarvis Landry getting himself hurt. I mean, so he was the only weapon on that team, and he kind of more or less was the only real, and he performed, like I said, in a very ugly circumstance. Now, his performance, Garrett Wilson had a slower start to the year, but honestly, that was between him and Zach Wilson just didn't have much chemistry because as soon as Joe Flacco came in earlier in the year, and then it's like, oh, man, here's the guy we've been looking for. There's 4 catches for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, this is the guy we drafted top 10. You know what I mean? This is the guy who we had rated above Chris Olave on the same team at Ohio State. And so he got a slower start and then kind of outstriped Olave, especially down the stretch. But honestly, man, and I hate that I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it to Brock Purdy. And the reason for it, Garrett Wilson has the quantity, but Brock Purdy has the quality. Because in his 6 games played, are so pivotal. This was a team that was in position to challenge to compete in this weekend's game, this Super Bowl, and they can't get there without Brock Purdy. And we saw that. You know what I'm saying? Now, not to say if somebody else comes in, but we can only count the guys on the roster. So if Brock's not there, for everything we said about those weapons around him, for everything we said about Coach of the Year Kyle Shanahan, he can't even get that. Like I said, if Brock Purdy does what 99.8% of mystery irrelevant 7th round quarterbacks do, then he had to be 7th round, 6th round, 5th round. If he performs to, I guess, his draft positioning, to his assumed pedigree, and that's another thing as well, because it goes both ways, because we don't know what Brock Purdy looks like outside of that structure, outside of that well-oiled machine. And so not to just give him all the credit, but point being, he was so integral in a championship caliber team that, man, I just, as nice as Garrett Wilson's season was, I don't think it was necessarily special. You know what I mean? I saw rookie Justin Jefferson. You know what I'm saying? I saw rookie Jamar Chase. You know what I'm saying? They on another planet than Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson had a nice year, but I think we'll see that. We'll see Garrett Wilson's year again. We'll see Garrett Wilson's year next year, possibly, with some of these guys coming in. Zay Flowers, some of these names, I'll get to them later on down the road. But like I said, I don't know the next time we'll see a 7th round Mr. Irrelevant quarterback step into a team that's step into a team and then help to maintain and rally that team towards competing for a championship. And then the reason they didn't even have a fair shake at a championship appearance was because he got hurt. I mean, I think that's just too heavy, man. I think that's too heavy. And so I'm gonna give mine to Brock Purdy, but I can't be mad at the Garrett Wilson selection either, because like I say, if not for just all the circumstance around Brock Purdy, Wilson was probably going to be my guy as well. But man, just to see what he did for that team or his role in that team, and then to see how his worth really showed when he got his elbow snatched out because somebody left Hassan Riddick one-on-one with a third-string tight end for 2 series in a row, and he smacked Brock Purdy for 4 out of every 3 downs he was in those first 2 series, and then one of them cost you a game. And so, yeah, man. So I think I'm going a little quality, I think, over the quantity of the season in totality, and I'll give mine to Purdy.
Yeah, and I'll say another thing in terms of that too, and another reason why I went with Garrett Wilson, because I think it was more so like all right. And I like doing basketball references because it's easy for me. Mm-hmm. But it's like all right, I can come in here, I'm gonna be a point guard, but all I gotta do is not turn the ball over, because if I don't turn the ball over and I get it in Clay's hand, Clay gonna knock it down. If I get it in Durant's hand, Durant gonna knock it down. You know what I'm saying? And that's gonna make my job just that much easier. Versus, if I'm on a team where I gotta go get it myself, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I just gotta go get it myself. You know what I'm saying? I gotta get it out the mud. You know what I'm saying? So for me, they kind of spoke a little bit more. And then with your comparison too with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Now, I'm not saying Garrett Wilson is Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. Let's just get that out of the way. I'm not saying that. But Justin Jefferson going into a Kirk Cousins and Jamar Chase going with a
Joe Beasley.
Joe Beasley is a little different than playing with Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, and Mike.
Hey, your boy Mike White. Yeah, hey, they put us down for a few of them games.
Yeah. I had to prove a point. That's all. I had to prove my point.
Yeah, but, and that's definitely fair, man. It definitely is. It definitely is. Like I said, I can't be mad at the Wilson pick either. Honestly, I really can't. And then our dog Jeff, man, he jumped in the comments. Man, hey, I don't know if you was here earlier, Jeff. We having issues in the stream platform with the chat. So if y'all see me looking down, I've got the YouTube chat up on my phone, so I can still see the comments, but it's not feeding the comments into our streaming platform like it does normally. But Jeff got in, man, and he said he's going to go with Purdy as well. He said Purdy's games meant more, and yeah, I think that's what it is, man. He's kind of thinking on the wave with me, like, man, it was smaller sample size, but man, they weighed so much heavier. Here's a basketball reference for you. You know what I mean?
They give quarterbacks everything, man. Forget these.
And that's true. That's true. That's why I was still mad that Zeke got cheated out of Rookie of the Year for Dak. It's like, well, Dak was only so good because Zeke led the league in rushing as a rookie. Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you for sure. Okay. But Garrett Wilson was Kyrie Irving in Cleveland, averaging 27 and only winning 26 games for the year. You know what I mean? Like he was balling on the team that didn't sniff. The Jets did have a run at the playoffs, but like I said, a lot of things were going on with them, especially defensively.
Brock Purdy was Sean Livingston.
No. I was gonna get better than Sean Livingston. I was gonna say he was, and I don't even know who to use, but like let's say he only had 12 points a game, so he wasn't lighting it up. But like you said, he was getting the ball. He was rookie Rondo. He was getting the ball to Paul Pierce, KG, and I ain't gonna say Kendrick Perkins.
Ray Allen.
And Ray Allen. There we go. Boom. So he was Rondo. Rondo might not. You can't count on Rondo to get 10 points, but you can count on 15 assists. You know what I mean? So he was rookie Rondo. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I said. I'll give it to rookie Rondo, man, for helping get those guys to rock, man. But yeah, right. Kyrie scoring by himself at Cleveland, man. And that's the thing too. He's not. Wilson's not even the best. He's not the best rookie on his own team. Just honestly, now. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get to it.
Okay, now. They tripping out here. Oh, my bad, bro. They tripping out here, bro.
Oh, you good? Oh, okay.
All right. Now you said he ain't the what?
Okay, yeah. So I said he ain't the best rookie on his team.
Yeah, of course not. Because he might have been the guy that you were talking about might have been the best in the business, if not the best. Hey, I can't. Hey, man. Hey,
Matter of fact, go ahead and take us into the defense.
Since we talking about it, let's go ahead and jump into the defensive rookie of the year candidates. You know what I'm saying? And I'll mention the candidates first. Of course, Sauce Gardner is
defensive rookie of the year. Let's get it.
He's probably gonna be the defensive rookie of the year, but he is one of the candidates, man. His rookie year, all 17 games first and foremost, man. Ended up the season with 2 interceptions, led the league in passes deflected with 20. You know what I mean? And hey, what can I say except he was a eraser. And he erased the other team's number 1 guy all season long. I'm talking about from a rookie going against whoever. You know what I'm saying? Who you got? You want to put Devontae Adams in front of me? Okay, you want to put Justin Jefferson in front of me? Like he was taking on those challenges all season long, man, and he didn't let anybody down. That's why he got the All-Pro, you know what I'm saying? All-Pro, and of course, he's definitely going to get that Defensive Rookie of the Year. But some of the other candidates, man, I'll mention them real quick, man. You got Tariq Woolen. He was another candidate, man, another good corner in his rookie year. He actually led the league in interceptions with 6. With Gardner Johnson, right?
And Minka Fitzpatrick.
Okay, yeah. So you got Gardner Johnson. I mean, yeah, you had those guys. But then you got Tariq Woolen, man. Tariq Woolen, a long 6'4", 4.2 running, athletic cornerback, man, who a lot of people mention him as like, all right, he reminds a lot of people of Richard Sherman. But imagine if Richard Sherman ran a 4.2, you know what I'm saying, and had a 40-something inch vertical, you know what I'm saying? That's crazy, you know what I'm saying? So this guy has a lot of potential to be a true shutdown corner, or a true shutdown cover 3 corner in that system that they like to run over in Seattle. So he had a phenomenal year. And then last but not least, man, Aiden Hutchinson, man. Aiden Hutchinson, rookie defensive end over in Detroit, over with the Detroit Lions, man. You can tell right away he's going to be a difference maker for this team. He came into this season. He finished with 9.5 sacks, 34 solo tackles, man. Just another good season for him. And also had 3 passes deflected as well.
Now he had 3 interceptions.
And 3 interceptions.
Yeah,
3 interceptions. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You don't see that a lot coming from a defensive end. So, man, really good rookie season for him, man. But, of course, like I said before, man, you got to go to Sauce, man. Sauce, hey, man, he played in an all-pro level. Point blank period, man, and arguably could have been the best corner in the league this season. And he has really got his career. His career has started off in the trajectory to be an all-timer for sure. You know what I'm saying? If he continues this up, and plays at this level or higher, or just close to this level, even if he takes a small step back, that's still an all-pro caliber corner, or definitely Pro Bowl level. So he's got his career off to a great start. And yeah, Sauce Gardner, man, hands down my defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, no, and it goes for me, man. This was man. They tell a story. Sticking to NBA analogies, man. They tell a story about Larry Bird. The first time he went to the 3-point contest, walked to the locker room, asked who was coming in second, then walked out. Didn't even take his warm-ups off. And they show the footage. He's wearing his warm-ups in the 3-point contest when he went out and won, after he went in there and asked who's coming in second. So this was a one-man race, man. Sauce had that locked up, man, probably about 8 weeks ago. So for me, man, who came in number 2, and I'm gonna give it to Aiden Hutchinson, man. So he came in as the number 1 pick, had been assumed or presumed to be the number 1 guy for much of that draft season, and then was overtaken late by Trayvon Walker. With Jacksonville and with Chris Balky likes to do down there. But no, he showed up and had the goods. So he's a guy, man. He comes in, he's got high expectations. He lived up to his name. Like I said, 9 sacks or 9 and change, the deflections, tackle for loss, all those things, etc. But just like Chop said, 3 interceptions. And I think one of them was a pick 6. I think I seen that game. I'm pretty sure I thought he scored a defensive touchdown. I feel like I seen him like, maybe I don't know if it was a fumble recovery. Am I tripping? Or did he? I don't know why I thought he might have even scored. I don't know if it was on one of those picks or on the fumble recovery or something. But anyway, showed up, showed out, and like I said, man, lived up to his expectations, man. So I would probably give him that 2 spot, and especially because this is a guy. He's not a 3-4 outside stand-up guy. Like, I mean, that's not what he does. So he is a hand in the dirt. I'm coming to get you DN. You know what I mean? Or edge player. And then, like I said, a credit to his athleticism and his ability that he could be used in those situations. And not only to be used in those situations, we've all seen when you don't ask Myles Garrett to rush just to show him something new or whatever, and they're basically just out there covering space. And I'm not Myles Garrett specifically, but just that type of player. They're not an asset in the protection. You know what I mean? He's an asset. 3 interceptions tell you he's an asset. You know what I mean? I don't know how many interceptions Sauce had, but if he either had 3 or not as many as 3, and it's not this. But
he didn't, because Sauce only had 2.
That's what I'm saying. More interceptions than Sauce Gardner, who was the best, who was an all-pro corner this year. As a 4-3 base edge player, you know what I'm saying? As a rookie as well. So that's phenomenal. And so I would have gave him my 2 spot. Then number 3, if I was going to rank him, number 3 would have been Chop Willie, man. Like I said, just the alien, man. 6'4", 200 pounds, runs 4'2", jumps, leaps tall buildings and runs faster than speeding trains. You know what I'm saying? So that would have been my 3rd guy.
All right, Willie Jack. Well, let's keep on pushing, man. And before I get into some of the big time awards, man, like the big ones that we really gonna discuss, man, let's go to comeback player of the year. Comeback player of the year, man, and the candidates come down to, of course, Saquon Barkley, man, running back of the New York Giants, man, definitely had a bounce back season this year. Of course, been battling injury for the last few years. Ends up finishing, this season with, 1,300 yards. 338 yards, receiving. So 1,600 yard season, man, 10 touchdowns, man. So a really good season for him, in the comeback season and him coming off of those injuries. So really good for him. Another guy, part of this one is Christian McCaffrey, man. Christian McCaffrey, of course, started the season off with the Carolina Panthers, ended the season with the San Francisco 49ers, and was very, very integral to them going as far as they did in the playoffs. Getting to the NFC Championship game. Of course, they come up short, but hey, man, the guy came out and he did everything he could to try to help this team win. He had a good season. Finishes his season with 1,100 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns on the ground, but then also had 85 receptions and 741 receiving yards, man. So almost a 2,000-yard season for him, 5 touchdowns. So a really good season for him, man. And like I said, it really was a catalyst for this San Francisco team down the stretch. And then the last guy, man, your guy, what they call him? Go ahead, flex.
Big Geno. Come on, man. Big
Geno Smith, man. Big Geno Smith. Of course, bounced around the league a lot. I think it's safe to say a lot of people probably gave up on Geno, man. A lot of people gave up on him.
He was an afterthought. Ain't no other way around it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and he comes back this year, man, and leads a Seattle team to get into the playoffs. Now, of course, they have a first-round exit, man, but they make it. Those for over 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, man. And
led the league in completion percentage.
Yeah, led the league in completion percentage, man, 69.8 completion percentage, man. And that's a really good year for Geno Smith, a really good bounce-back year. So, Willie Jack, talk to me, man. Who is your comeback player of the year, my man?
This one for me, man, it was a 2-horse race for me, man. Well, those 3 names are the names I had, but respect to Saquon, man, he was in that 3 seat. So this one for me, man, was my dog C-Mac, man, best in the business. And then Big Geno, man. And I had to give it to Big Geno. I had to get, because he's coming back from further down than both of those guys. Like, those guys are dealing with injury and being on poor performing teams and just teams that don't have a lot of talent around them. And that's a challenge and a struggle. Geno's coming off of 8 years as a backup in the shadows, waiting for his chance. And then, man, you gave him an inch and he took a mile. You know what I mean? Like, for me, that's like he made up the most ground. And then, like I said, man, not only to come back, he didn't come back and have a Andy Dalton run in New Orleans just now, or Jameis Winston run in Miami, in New Orleans right now. He didn't come back and just just any number of guys. He came back and was a player. He came back and balled, led the league in completion percentage. We just told you. You know what I'm saying? 70%. That's Drew Brees territory. You know what I mean? Guys that have touched 70, that's a very short list. And Geno did it after picking splinters out his backside because he sat on the bench for 8 years, or maybe it was 6 years. You know what I mean? Whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? So, man, and like I said, man, played well. And that 70% was up the field. That's another thing. Is when Drew did it, Drew would go 24 for 25 in games, and he threw 23 screens. You know what I'm saying? Between the screens and the 2-yard slants to Michael Thomas, you know what I'm saying? It was a lot of those. Gino was up the field, bro. You know what I'm saying? Gino was you know what I'm saying? He was up the field to Tyler Lockett. He was up the field to DK. You know what I'm saying? So and man, so to be that efficient, 30 touchdowns, essentially right around a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, 30 touchdowns, 11 picks. Phenomenal year. You know what I mean? Phenomenal year, man. So I got to give it to Big Gino, man. Big Gino, man, he ain't right back. You feel me? So Big Gino got it for me, man. Then like I said, next would have been my dog C-Mac. And it reminded me when you gave me those stats, I've been meaning to, I need to go find the footage. Because when C-Mac went to the Niners, I said he was going to give us 1,800 combined yards. I said that. I said it in the footage. I'm going to have to do some digging because I did. And he 1,100 rushing, man, 700 something on the, man, come on, man. Come on, they ain't making them like, ain't too many that can get it, man. And C-Mac one on the ones, man. And then also, man, I don't want to discount Saquon, man, what he did. 1,300 yards. And more importantly than the yards reduction, he played 17 games. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's been the biggest hindrance to his career, man. He's just had it just, I mean, sometimes, it's just nothing that he could do. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. Injuries are going to happen, man. Injuries are a part of this game, and they happen, and it's no fair. There's not a rhyme or reason. But he came back. He stayed healthy. He definitely heard the noise, man. You could, if you listen to him talk about it, you listen to him speak, and even see the intensity with which he plays, man. He knows the things that are said about him, and it was on his mind to go out there and you know what I'm saying, show people like, I'm still who you thought I was. I'm still who I said I was. And he balled, man, and played very well, 1,300 yards as well, man, and looked explosive and dynamic as well. But yeah, man, I'm gonna give it to Big Gino, man. I gotta give it to Big Gino.
All right, man, and I'm actually gonna give it to your boy, man. I'm going C-Mac, man, as my offensive player, but comeback player of the year, man. Giving it to C-Mac. I thought about Saquon. Saquon did have a solid season, man, but of course, I think C-Mac's season overall was a little bit better, and in terms of the way that he did it and how teams lean on him. Also, Saquon Barkley still played 13 games last year. Now, he was still banged up. They didn't use him the way that most teams would think you would use. You want to use your premier back. He was still battling injuries. He wasn't running the same, you know what I'm saying? So I understand why he's in this conversation. Most players that played 13 games last year, not even in this conversation. But the reason he's in this conversation because of everything, all the injuries and things like that. But this year he was fully 100% healthy, and they can use him the way that they needed to use him and the way that they wanted to use him. And yes, he came out and performed. But like I said, I'm going with Christian McCaffrey, man. And the reason I didn't go with Gino because I did see a few lows from Gino. You know, so I did see him come back down to earth on a few games. You know what I'm saying? But he did have an overall phenomenal season. My great season, better than what I thought. And then also carried a team where nobody expected them to be in position to make the playoffs. And they did. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of that credit goes to Geno Smith and Pete Carroll. Well, you know what I'm saying? You got to give those guys credit. And actually, I'm surprised Pete Carroll's not in that conversation for Coach of the Year. You know what I'm saying? I think that he could have very well been a finalist for that particular position, especially if you put Brian Daboll in that position. You know what I'm saying? I don't see too much of a difference. Both teams won 9 games. Both teams weren't expected to make the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So that is something that I kind of value by Pete Carroll and really give him a lot of credit for that. But the reason I'm going with Christian McCaffrey, man, is because he was high all season. You know what I'm saying? From Carolina and from 2 days, you know what I'm saying, of practice, 2 days of studying the playbook.
And the guy came out.
It was the same game. He came out and threw a touchdown pass. You know what I'm saying? So he came out and had 100, maybe 150 yards from scrimmage and had a phenomenal game. And from that moment, everybody knew that he was the guy that was going to run his offense through. And they did that from that point on. He is if Brock Purdy wins Rookie of the Year, he needs to go and say, hey, Christian McCaffrey, I got you, bro. We're going to go out. I'm buying the team watches. You getting the best one.
No, he ain't buying the team watches on that Mr. Irrelevant salary. Nah, he ain't doing all that.
Hey, he might buy G-Shocks, but hey.
I was like, hey, he can invite everybody over to his apartment, man, for some. He can get on the grill for everybody. He can't even take everybody out.
Okay, all right. Well, he gonna get on the grill, and everybody gonna get hot dogs and chicken, but Christian McCaffrey get steak. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Christian McCaffrey, whatever it is, you need to take care of Christian McCaffrey because Christian McCaffrey, he played a big role in this team, and you just see how much he meant to this team too. Even when Brock Purdy went down and all the guys went down, and it was just him, you know. And the only touchdown of the game, who it come from? Christian McCaffrey, and he broke about 3, 4, 5 tackles just to get it. You know what I'm saying? On one of the best runs.
Got somebody's chest for it, yeah.
The way that they utilized him on that team, it was instantly known that he's not just a player that we're going to add, this is just being added to this team. No, he is the player on this team. Debo Samuel took a few less touches because Christian McCaffrey was on this team. Debo was supposed to be the guy. Brandon Ayuk, all these guys, man. Christian McCaffrey was the guy. He helped carry this team to what you saw them be. He helped this team score 30 points a game. And I would go Christian McCaffrey, man, as my comeback player of the year. For his performance and the way that he carried that team.
No, for sure. And then real quick in the chat, man, our dog, man, Jeff, he wants some love for his Eagles brethren, man. He said Brandon Graham came back from an Achilles injury to have double-digit sacks. And also, man, Brandon, I think this was his career high in sacks. I think he had either 10.5 or 11.5. He's one of those guys that he's a jack of all trades more so than a dominant player in any one facet of the game. And so he's a guy that almost like a Ryan Kerrigan with Washington. If you remember all those years, he's a very solid guy, but he's a guy that's going to float between finish around 8 to 10 sacks. And I think Brandon Graham probably averaged about 7.5 to 9.5. It's probably been where he'd been at. And I think this may have been the first year that he actually had 10.5 sacks. But I wouldn't say comeback player of the year, man, because that Eagles defense it's kind of difficult, man, to give one guy so much credit on a team on a one side of the ball that's so loaded. Like he was one of 4 guys on that side of the ball with double-digit sacks. And then also, as history tells us, man, this was an outlier year for him. I'm pretty sure this is his first year with double-digit sacks, or if not, it's his second. And he's been in the league for about 13 years. And so,
no, and you're absolutely right, Willie Jack. This is his first year with double-digit sacks.
Okay,
but also,
and
on top of that,
yeah.
Even on top of that, he didn't have the same type of season that he normally has in terms of just tackles and making an impact other than the passing, other than just rushing the passer.
Yeah,
he had,
and a lot of that's probably gonna be that rotation.
Stats.
Yeah, I was gonna say, a lot of that's probably gonna be that rotation because they roll so deep, but also his individual impact. And so that's another thing too, like we're talking about with C-Mac. Like his individual impact was tremendous, and then that's why I went with Big Gino because, like I said, man, for a lot of the reasons we said about Dayball and those Giants, not only did nobody expect them to look like anything, they made the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like they made the playoffs, man. And Gino, kind of like we just said about Brock Purdy, they can't do it without Gino. You know what I mean? And so, but yeah, man, you can't go wrong with C-Mac. I wanted to give it to C-Mac, but I was just like, man, I gotta get Big Gino, man. He did his thing, man. I had to get to him. But yeah, either one of those, I'm fine though.
Absolutely. All right, Willie Jack. Now, we started on the offensive side of the ball when we talked about rookie of the years, man. But now we go into the player of the years, man. And I think it's only right. Now we start on the defensive side of the ball, man. So let's go talk about some defensive player of the years, man. And first, I guess we can talk about the candidates, man. And the first candidate on the docket, of course, man. Let's talk about your boy, Nick Bosa, man, or the San Francisco 49ers, man. A lot of 49ers popping up on these lists, man. But Nick Bosa, phenomenal season, man. I think a lot of people, kind of viewed him as, the guy that made a huge difference, man. And he finished this season off with 18.5 sacks, so led the league in sacks, and was just a menace, man. A disruptor, turn offensive lineman up all season long. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you can't really say too much about his particular game because that's just what he did. Another guy that's in this conversation, man, is Chris Jones. Now, let me remind everybody, man, this is a regular season award. You know what I'm saying? Because after I watched that postseason by Chris Jones, man, I could have easily just bumped him up a couple slots, and he could have easily been one of the guys that takes over this particular spot. But he finishes his regular season 15.5 sacks. From as a defensive tackle, consistently, getting behind offensive linemen and causing havoc, wreaking havoc in any opposing team's backfield, man. So great season by Chris Jones as well. And then lastly, another guy that's in this conversation, a guy that I predicted, and I don't know if Willie Jack predicted it as well. I think you probably predicted it, but I predicted
think we did, yeah. The preseason, yeah.
To actually be the defensive player of the year this year, and Michael Parsons, man. Michael Parsons, another phenomenal year, another all-pro year. Finishes this season with 13.5 sacks, man, and numbers kind of stayed the same and went down in some areas a little bit, man. But, man, to say the least, another guy who wrecked the game all year long. You know what I'm saying? So, Those are the three guys, or the three finalists, that come into this Defensive Player of the Year award, and I'm going with Nick Bosa, man. I'm going with the guy on the number one defense in the league is Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa led the league in sacks, of course, and like I said, man, when you were able to get after the quarterback, man, that changes the game, and he led the way in there. When Nick Bosa is on the field, he makes everybody else on that defensive line better as well. Now they do got some other studs, but a lot of those guys' games elevate. If you're on the field with Nick Bosa and your game is at a B, your game automatically goes to a B plus when Nick Bosa's on that field. You know what I'm saying? Or potentially like an A minus, something like that. Because he draws attention. He's going to draw attention away from you. You're going to have a lot of one-on-one looks, a lot of opportunities. You know what I'm saying? But you still got to get there if you want your numbers. If you want your stats, you better hurry up and get there. Because if you don't get there, guess who's going to get there? Nick Bosa's going to get there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going Nick Bosa, man. Like I said, man, he wreaked havoc all year, and he deserves it, man. So Nick Bosa is my Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, and then for me as well, man, I think this one was a very tightly. I like all three names in this one. Like I said, Chris Jones, Nick Bosa, and Michael Parsons. I think to start the season, man, especially probably the first 6-7 weeks of this season, man, for me it was probably Michael Parsons. He came out the gates, man, on fire,
sure.
And so he transitions and moves from combo linebacker and spot edge player, which only honestly happened because Tank Lawrence, the longtime defensive captain for the Cowboys and guy on that front line, he was injured and banged up, and they had nobody else that could rush the passer. And so Michael starts experimenting down there and abuses the guy from the Chargers. They had like 4 sacks in that game alone, but it's a tremendous success letting him rush the passer. So this year they come out and they make him a full-time edge player now, and now he just has spot duty as an off-ball stack backer and has a phenomenal year. Like I said, now I'm not going to say, I mean, the sack production, the overall just pure sack production tapered towards the end of the year, but I don't necessarily hold that against guys because sacks aren't easy. So, if a guy comes, I mean, it's one of those things like a guy with, let's say if a guy comes out and gets 4 interceptions the first half of the year, well, if he only finishes with 5 interceptions, he didn't fall off the second half of the year. It's just damn hard to get interceptions. You know what I'm saying? And once you come out and you're doing that, well, then guys are going to start respecting it. Guys are going to adjust. You know what I mean? So I'm not worried about the curtail as far as the pure sack numbers go at the end of the year. But towards the middle part of the year is where I think Nick Bosa started kind of taking over for me, especially being, like I said, just the catalyst, or he's just like Chop said, there's a lot of excellent pieces on that defense. That defense has 3 All-Pro players: Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Tua, who found you. You know what I'm saying? Or Talanoa, who found you. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna learn dude's name, man. Shout out to you, bro. I love, respect your game, homie. He from USC, man. He's a big Troy Polamalu fan. Similar heritage is what they're both Polynesian. So I respect you. I just can't say the names, man. I'm working on it. But that's exactly why that for me, I'm going Chris Jones. Because Chris Jones is unquestionably the guy on his defense. He's the only guy on that side of the ball. Everybody else is a C play. Everybody else is a C to C plus player, and some of those guys look like B and B plus players because they've got Chris Jones. And Chris Jones doesn't have Fred Warner behind him. He doesn't have Tua, or not. I keep saying Tua. He doesn't have
Talanoa Hufanga. Yeah,
he doesn't have Talanoa. He doesn't have Talanoa behind Fred Warner.
There you go, Willie Jack. There you go.
Hey, there we go. And let's give some credit to Miko Ryans. He doesn't have the Rico Ryans on the sideline either. You know what I'm saying? Chris Jones probably looks around like, all right, come on, y'all get on my back. All right, everybody, come on, get on. I got it. You know what I'm saying? And we saw that a lot, especially like I said in this Bengals game, where it gets down to crunch time, man. You gave Joe Cool 2 touchdowns, 2 timeouts, and a 2-minute warning, and boy, that's bad news bears 98% of the time. Until Mr. Chris Jones said, "No, don't even trip. Don't even trip. I got it," and went out there and closed the show. You know what I'm saying? So I think he, and then also I shouldn't discount as well with Michael Parsons. He still does have veteran Tank Lawrence, and he still has Pro Bowl guy in his own right, Trayvon Diggs as well. So I think he had the least amount of support and was still at the top of the league. He was easily the best defensive tackle in football this year. And like I said, man, 15 and a half sacks, man, inside, that's nothing to sneeze at. And especially, like I said, man, where there's nobody else that's going to make anybody lose any sleep on that defense outside of Chris Jones. You know what I'm saying? Because even, we worried about Chris Jones. Man, I'm also worried about Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. I'm also worried about Taylor Noah. You know what I'm saying? Like, Tre'Davious Ward had an excellent season. Now, maybe we could credit some of that to Bosa. You know what I'm saying? He ain't got to cover for 4 seconds no more. Now he's covered for 2.5. You know what I mean? But I still think Chris Jones did the heaviest lifting of the bunch. And I'll give it to him, man, for that reason, man. But like, that's another thing too. Like, you can't go wrong. You know what I'm saying? You can't go wrong. There's about, like I say, if I give the first 6 weeks of the season to Michael Parsons, I gave probably those next 6 to Nick Bosa. But then Chris Jones was always there, of course. But he took over for me for Nick Bosa down this final kind of stretch of the season. But not that he was always playing well, but it's just, once I really took it to totality, the things I'm talking about now, like, man, it's nobody else back there. There's nobody else out there. You know what I mean? He's got a young Nick Bolton from Mizzou. You know what I mean? He's got a young Nick Bolton, but 80% of the country don't know that boy's name. It's his second or third year in the league, and he's a tackling machine. He had like 150 tackles this year. But but there's just not a lot of guys on that defense. And yeah, man, it feels like the Niners had 6 All-Pros, and all 6 of them was on defense. Is what it felt like. Now 5 of them, because they got Trent Williams on offense. You know what I mean? So it was a very talented group. But so yeah, I went Chris Jones for that reason, man. Mr. Chris Jones, man. Yeah,
gotcha.
He was a man amongst boys. I started calling him Mr. Chris Jones. He was abusing the boys out there.
For sure, he was, for sure. And I ain't mad at you for that, man. Great point, in terms of that. So I can't get mad at you for that, man. He is the guy on that defense, and he made a difference in the reason they're in the Super Bowl right now. You know what I'm saying? So gotta go Chris Jones there. I'm with you on there, but not with you on Chris Jones. I'm going with Nick Bosa. But I understand. I respect it. Yeah. I respect it. On to the other side of the ball, Willie Jack. Now we got the offensive player of the year, man. Offensive player of the year. Did I miss any comment? We miss any comments or anything?
Real quick, man, our dog. Jeff said with Aaron Donald not having the greatest year, Chris Jones got to step right into the light. And you know what, man, that's probably, that's probably fair to say. I would say that Chris Jones was probably let's say if last year we're still going to say, AD, I can't think, I don't know the numbers specifically, but let's say just assuming it's going to be AD, right? If we're talking last year, then I still think Chris Jones was a top 2 or 3 guy. He would have been right there with him, Cam Hayward,
it was just
in that mix, and Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons from the Titans was in that mix last year. And so he's still a guy. He didn't necessarily come out of nowhere, but with AD playing as poorly as he did this year, I'm saying it. The defense looked better when he decided to go ahead and take his trip to Cabo, man. They did. Y'all defense played better. But all that aside, man, I got to troll my dog just a little bit. But no, man. But just like he said, because sometimes with these awards, man, it can be. Sometimes you do get a little. That's the name we get. That's the name we know. Kind of can happen. And so with AD not being necessarily in that mix, it definitely did just clear the lane for a guy like Chris Jones, man, to come in and really kind of really shine like he did.
Okay, gotcha. All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the offensive side, man. Let's go into the offensive player of the year candidates. You know what I'm saying? I'll run these guys down. Did you miss something, man?
Yeah, real quick, man. For Jeff, he said, they didn't get no love to his dog, Hassan Riddick from the Eagles, man. And he definitely had a great year as well, man. I think he finished with roughly 6. I think he had like 16 sacks, I think as well, man. So, so he had a big year as well, man. We can't downplay it. He was tremendous in the NFC Championship game as well. Really wonderful, y'all knocking Brock Purdy out that game, man. So he dominated that opening of that game, man. Like I said, for those first 2 series, and man, they couldn't do nothing with him. So shout out to him as well.
He ain't have to beat nobody, Jeff, man. He just ran straight to the quarterback, man.
It was an excellent scheme.
No move. Yeah. He ain't make a move or nothing. Who he remind me of, Willie Jack? You know what story I'm about to tell?
Go ahead.
Back in, I think it was about 2010, 2011. You know what I'm saying? We in the film room, Jeff. I'm going to tell this story, Willie Jack. We in the film room. Well, first of all, we in a game, right? We in a game. Of course, I play corner. Willie Jack is a defensive end, if y'all ain't know. Willie Jack is an end. He coming off the edge. He rushing. My dog got some stuff. I'm covering. I turn around. I find out my dog Willie Jack done got him a sack. So you know what Willie Jack do? He out. They can't block me. They can't block me. I do this. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about slob coming from the mouth, everything. Mouthpiece hanging out. He letting them know, talking to their bench. Y'all can't block me. Y'all can't block me. So, of course, it's cool. My dog getting busy. That's what I'm talking about, Willie Jack. We out here on him. We out here. Game over. I don't know what happened. I don't even remember who he's playing. But
who was that? Yeah, I can't remember either.
We gets in the film room, right? And they go to the play where Willie Jack got the sack. I think Willie Jack balled the game. Actually, he had about
I had 2 sacks that game. I had another sack. I had a good game though. Yeah, I had a good game.
A good game. We go back to the film room. I'm talking about not damn person blocked the boy. The boy talking about they can't block me. But ain't nobody attempt to block him. He had a free run at the quarterback like Hassan Reddick had in this playoff game when he knocked Brock Purdy out. Not a soul blocked him, man.
Hey, Jeff, in fairness, I had already been whooping up on the tackle. So in my mind, I gave him a little stutter, and you know what I'm saying, and blew by. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still did the hand moves, just wasn't nobody there to catch the swim. You know what I'm saying? I still threw the move. It just they wasn't there. But I didn't see it. I tumbled.
Hey, Willie Jack say it's their fault. That's your sack, huh? That's their fault. They should have blocked.
Yeah, it was some type of, I think I don't know what it was. But no, I'm going to tell you the truth what I think it was. He tried to quick set me outside because I was using the speed rush, and I just came inside. So he almost jumped out my way because he thought I was, you know, saying this video. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, man, but I ain't gonna lie. Hey, Coach Joe Fo did me back. Joe Fo ran that play back like 5 times, man.
Yeah, he ran it back.
Joe Fo ran that play back like 5 times.
I'm gonna tell you this, Willie Jack. Don't feel alone, bro. He done got all us. He done got all us in the film room before, bro. He done got everybody, dog.
Hey, we didn't even look at the other sack. That's the thing. I'm like, man, I had another one too. Now we didn't even look at the other one. Oh man. Oh
but
man. Joe
anyway,
Fo,
man,
he ain't right for that, dog.
Hey, my bad. I had to, dog. I'm pretty sure you're gonna get me too. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the Offensive Player of the Year candidates, man. And Offensive Player of the Year, of course, we got Patrick Mahomes, quarterback, Kansas City Chiefs, man. We know who Pat Mahomes is, man. It's Project Pat, man. Project Pat coming through, had a good season, man. Led the league in yards, touchdowns, TD percentage, and all those different things. Yards per game. You know what I'm saying? So great game by Pat. Great season by Pat Mahomes, man. Y'all know what he do. Don't need to spend much time on him. Another guy, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, of course, we know he missed a couple games this season, but had a phenomenal season as well, man. 3,700 passing yards, 22 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? Of course, he was on the ground rushing as well. Oh, man, well, I just had his rushing stats pulled up, man. But 760 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns on the ground, man. So he was getting in that paint, man, and a very integral part to this Eagles offense. Then you also had Justin Jefferson, man. Justin Jefferson, really good season, man. Led the league in receptions and yards, 128 receptions, 1,800 yards, 8 touchdowns. Really close to breaking the record this year. Really had a chance. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for, a guy over in Green Bay that told him what he was going to do and came out and did it. You know what I'm saying?
You really did.
And then Tyreek Hill, man. Tyreek Hill, another guy who really started off hotter than any other receiver, man. And he really was the first one in
on track for that 2,000, yeah.
He was on track for 2,000 yards, man. But he finished with 119 receptions, 1,700 yards, 7 touchdowns, man. So a really good season for him in his first year in Miami. Just, proving everybody to, like, look, man, even without Patrick Mahomes, I can still do my thing. And, of course, Patrick Mahomes proved without Tyreek Hill, I can still do my thing. You know what I'm saying? So great seasons all the way around. And Willie Jack, who you going to go with this one, man?
Man, and this one, just like you said, man, so I think my top 3 in this one were definitely patty cake, man, for sure. Just for everything you said. You lose Tyreek, man. Whether or not you want to call him the best receiver, that's whatever. The most dangerous weapon individually in the league is offensively is Tyreek Hill. So you lose the most dangerous weapon in the league, man. And then what's cool about that, both those guys split. Both those guys, a lot of their legacy was credited to each other. And then in their first year apart, they both go and have dominant seasons. Know what I mean? So it's like, like when Kobe and Shaq left, they both still won championships. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of thing. which doesn't always happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Kyrie left LeBron, and it wasn't sunny on the other side of that street like he thought it was. You know what I'm saying, or whatever the case. So it doesn't always happen that way. But it did for those guys. So I had Patty, Jettas, man, and then Tyreek were my top three that I had. And I'm not gonna lie, man. I gave mine to Justin Jefferson. I did. I did because he was, like I said, the game against Green Bay, man, and that's a credit to Jair Alexander, one of my favorite corners in the league. I think he's pretty high on your list as well, man. The guy in Green Bay.
He's for sure top. He's a top 5 guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so it wasn't a bum. It wasn't a day he just didn't go show up, man. And so, he had a real one on the other side, man. And honestly, they didn't get him the ball or things didn't happen, but still a very dominant year, man. Finished with 19. What did he finish with? Did you say, or was it 8? Just under 19?
1800.
Yeah,
1809 to be exact.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So 1809. You know what, man? No, you know what, man? I got to change that on the fly. I'm sorry, Jettas. I wanted to give it to you. I really did, but I've seen 1800 before, man. I've seen 1800, man. I've seen my dog Antonio Brown do it twice, man. Only guy in history. You know what I'm saying? I've seen 1800, man. I don't know why in my mind when I did this list he got to 19, but nah, it was just 18. I'm gonna give it to patty cakes, man. I'm gonna give it patty cakes. You lose the most dangerous weapon in the league, still come out in his business as usual. You know what I mean? It's you still serving ice cream, just now it's a different flavor. You know what I'm saying? So led league in touchdowns and yardage. Your team's playing in the biggest game of the year this Sunday. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'll go ahead, man, and revamp that. And I'm gonna go patty cakes right there with you, man. Or my bad. Did you say patty? I know you just named the guys. Okay, my fault. Well, I'm gonna go Patty, man. I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Patty, man. Gotta respect it, man. Another 5,000-yard season. I think it was 35 touchdowns. I don't think it was no, he led the league though, like 36, 37, something like that. So
41 touchdowns.
Oh, he did get the 40. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember if he got the 40 or not. Okay, yeah, there we go. So led the league in passing yardage and passing touchdowns with a bunch of guys, respectfully, but MVS, you know what I'm saying? CVS, MVS, Michael Valdez, man, you know what I'm saying? Juju, no longer on the beat. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what happened, but Juju, Nicole Hardman, that, you know what I'm saying? Train wreck is finally over. Well, not train wreck, but you know what I'm saying? Just guys. You know what I'm saying? So I think you got to give it to him, man. He still had his dog, man. Still had his top option, man, and Travis Kelce, man. You know what I'm saying? They peanut butter and jelly, man. So he still had that guy. You can't slouch at him, but without a reliable run game, no true to life weapons on the outside. You and you know what I'm saying, you and your favorite homeboy TK, man, playing pitch and catch 17 weeks, man. And you still go out there and put those numbers up, man. Yeah, I gotta respect it, man. Gotta give it to you, man. Go patty cakes for the offensive player of the year for your boy.
Okay, I respect it, Willie Jack. I respect it, but hey, man, this is another one of those awards, man. I cannot give it to a quarterback, man. That's just the name of the game for me. Unless we had a guy unless we had like 1,500-yard guys, then I will have to go quarterback here. But I can't give it to a quarterback, man, because of course, spoiler alert, MVPs. Y'all know that's what quarterbacks always get, man. Or should we call it the MVQs, man, most valuable quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So, offensive player of the year, I'm going with your boy. I'm gonna go with Justin Jefferson, man. The season that he had with everybody, this is no longer a season or this was no longer a situation where nobody knew who he was. He's coming off of 1,400 yards his rookie year, 1,600 yards his second year. Now it's like, okay, we know who Justin Jefferson is. If you didn't know after the first year, you definitely
knew. They knew then. They were watching the show. Yeah, they knew.
You definitely knew after the second year if you didn't know after the first year. You know what I'm saying? Sure. So it's like, okay, all eyes on Justin Jefferson. You know what I'm saying? And not saying we know this Vikings offense, they had a few different weapons, a few different ways they can actually beat you. You know, but Justin Jefferson is the main guy. He's the number one guy on that offense. That's the guy you have to make sure you cover, double cover, triple cover, however many cover you need to stop. And teams couldn't do it all year long. Now, a lot of their credit goes to the new offensive mind that they brought over and putting him in different positions and using him a lot like they used, Cooper Kupp the year previous, who was a Triple Crown winner. But Justin Jefferson came out and dominated and single-handedly won them that game over the Buffalo Bills. You know what I'm saying? It got to a point in that game where it was like, it don't matter what's going on. You got to get me the rock, and I'm gonna go get it. One of the best catches I've ever seen, a wide receiver make, maybe the best catch I've ever seen, in NFL history. You know what I'm saying? Him make in that particular game to go and help this team upset, or not upset, but beat a really tough Buffalo Bills team
on the road,
on the road in the regular season, man. And Justin Jefferson continued to do that. He continued to do that all season long. The first go around against the Giants, they came down to the wire. Justin Jefferson repeatedly came up with plays. It was like game after game, especially when it came down to those close games. Justin Jefferson was the guy that they were going to. And Minnesota won the most like one possession games in the league this year. You know what I'm saying? I think their record was, they were like 8-1 or something like that at the end of the season when it came down to one possession games. So that lets you know how many close games they were in. And also, should let you know that Justin Jefferson was balling. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going Justin Jefferson with that one. Like I said before, I mean, Tyreek Hill started off hot, kind of slowed down towards the end of the season a little bit. And Justin Jefferson was in mid-stride, and he was continuing to do what he does. Of course, the quarterbacks did their thing. Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, those type of guys put up big numbers, carry them teams. But the Offensive Player of the Year award, to me, belongs to a 9 QB, and my 9 QB for this year, for this award, goes to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, and like I said, man, I can't be mad at that at all. See, how you gonna talk me into Patty and then go with my dog Jettas, man? You talk me out of Patty right now.
I just read you stats, bro. That's all I did.
I was like, damn, man, like
I just read you stats.
He did lose Tyreek. Like, damn, he did throw for 5,000. Damn, he did throw for 40 touchdowns. Then I was like, who is he throwing to? CVS and Juju off beat? Damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you talked me into Patty, but no, like I said, I ain't mad at it at all, man. Like I said, I'm not mad at it at all, man. Jettas came out and did his thing. I almost feel a little sorry for Tyreek because Tyreek, and the only thing I would say, I don't think necessarily Tyreek slowed down. Tua just couldn't keep himself out the concussion tent, or they couldn't keep Tua at the concussion tent, and so he finishes with 17, and Tua missed the better part of 6 games or so. And at the pace that they were at, especially when he got hurt, because the 2,000-yard season talk started with Tyreek, and this was around week 6 or 7. Yeah. He was somewhere. He had I don't even know the yardage, but it was, because I don't want to missay it, but he may have had 1,000 yards like by week 7 or 8. You know what I mean? Something. I mean, it was somewhere. He was on pace for the 2,000. You know what I'm saying? Early on, and then like I said, the concussions happened for Tua, and they've got Skylar Thompson and Teddy can't break wind, you know what I'm saying, trying to throw the ball. And so things just kind of went left for him, man. And so Tyreek, he maybe could have got with a full season with Tua, man, the way they were running at that time, assuming they continued that momentum and stay in the trajectory they were on, then, yeah, man, he could have been right there in that mix for that 2,000 as well. But like I said, I can't be mad at Jett as well. For just like you said, Adam Thielen, I don't know if he'll hang it up. I don't know if he's going to play another down in Minnesota. He just kind of fell off a cliff this year. He wasn't involved. That's why the trade and the move to go get Hockenson was so huge for them, because they didn't have a dependable second option. KJ Osborne had kind of taken over the role as number 2 receiver, and he kind of flashed in a couple games, but not necessarily a dependable, reliable, like I said, second option. And so, and for a lot of this year as well, man, Dalvin Cook in that run game as a whole was a little up and down, and so it definitely was a lot of Justin Jefferson. Y'all know he's coming, and you can't stop him. Outside of Jair Alexander, and then Jeff in the building as well, man. He said that Slay had on 1 for 13. I'm not gonna lie. Now Slay did, and that was like week 2. And Slay had a phenomenal game.
Cousins played terrible. Cousins wasn't all on Davis Slay.
Yeah, Cousins played terrible that game. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Now Slay still balled. He definitely did. But yeah, because that was probably one of Cousins.
Darius Slay got handed some interceptions that game. He got handed some interceptions that game.
Yeah, so it was definitely a rough game by Cousins. And then also, he said, he said Slay and Bradbury locked him down. Yeah, like he was on punishment. But like I'm not gonna knock them in because, like I say, you gotta. man, when between the lines, man, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? So they did what they was had to do on their side, man. And then here's the thing about Justin Jefferson: that ugly outing, 1 for 13, and still was on track for 2,000. You know, it was still on track for 2,000. So that goes to show just how dominant of a year he had. But yeah, man, like I can't be mad either way. You know what I'm saying? Justin Jefferson and Patty Cakes, man. If Patty's at full strength, I'd probably go Justin Jefferson. But losing Tyreek and then Juju and CVS, man, I was like, man, I had to give him some brownie points for that. And that's why I changed. I jumped ship, man. My bad, Jettas. I went to Patty, but I can't be mad either way that falls, man. If it's between you two guys.
Yeah. And by the way, Jeff, man, you be throwing out messed up stats, man. The boy went 6 for 48, man.
I think his numbers on Slay. I think Slay had. Yeah, I think. Wow. I'm assuming those are the numbers on Slay.
Okay.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I knew it was an ugly game though, but I didn't remember the full set. But I think that probably might have been what it was on Slay for real talk. And like 1 catch and 2 interceptions. Like I said, that was Christmas. Kurt was out there giving out, man, goodies. But
yeah. All right. On to the next Willie Jack, and last but not least, of course, we gotta talk MVP, man. Who is this year's MVP? And of course, you know, we got some of the same candidates. So I already talked about, you know, your Pat Mahomes, you know, your Jalen Hurts, your Justin Jeffersons. But also now you got to throw in your Josh Allen, you know, Big Josh, as my dog Willie Jack likes to call him. You know what I'm saying? Big Josh Allen, man, he finishes this season with a, you know, with a great season as well. You know, finishes this season with 4,200 yards, 35 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? And of course, you know, on the ground, finishing with 762 yards on the ground and 7 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? So he definitely, you know, played a huge role for his team. And then last but not least, of course, you got Joe Burrow added to the mix, man. Joe Burrow, a phenomenal season for him as well, especially with, you know, him being without his number one weapon in Jamar Chase for a few games, still keeping his team on track, you know, still, you know, helping them fight and get to the playoffs and then make a little bit of noise when they got to the playoffs as well, making it to the AFC Championship game and doing their thing. You know. So Joe Burrow, another good season, 4,400 yards for him, 35 touchdowns. So a good season for him. All right, Willie Jack, talk to me, man. Who is your MVP of the 2022 NFL season, man?
I'm not gonna lie, man, and I've hinted at it or said it before. I'm gonna give my MVP to Jalen Hurts. I'm giving it to Jalen Hurts, and it's not because he had the best overall quarterback season. Statistically, we could say Patty, probably Patty and Joe Burrow. Honestly, so it's not necessarily just the raw statistics. I think he did finish with like 3,500 passing yards and what, like 700 rushing yards. If I had to guess,
700 rushing yards and
was it 3,500 passing or something like that?
37 passing.
37. Okay. How many passing touchdowns? Like how many total touchdowns?
22 touchdowns and passing, and then rushing he had 13.
And
so
13.
35 total touchdowns.
Okay. And so for me, man, I'm going Jalen Hurts, and it's similar, now to a lesser degree for sure, but it puts me in the mind of Lamar's MVP season. Now it doesn't have the highlights of Lamar's, because Lamar's stuff with this the highlights, those touchdown run, man, it was video game. It was Bo Jackson, it was old school Bo Jackson and Tecmo Bowl style highlights. You know what I'm saying? So he didn't necessarily have that. But if you look at Lamar's production that year, it was on par with what he averages, about 3,500 yards. Now he did have 1,000 rushing yards as opposed to, I guess, 700. But total touchdowns, I think, was still somewhere around that same mark, around 30, 35. But for me, what the MVP award has proven to be, kind of like my dog Chop said, it's the best quarterback on the most dominant team. So, or essentially, yeah. So what Patty did this year was special. Like I said, considering everything around him. He's got a bunch of guys on the outside, and he's just got his boy TK, and then Andy Reid still drawing up the, you know what I'm saying, plays in his hand. So that's nothing to sneeze at. That's still a lot more than a lot of these guys have. But they weren't the most dominant team this year. The most dominant team from the opening bell was the Philadelphia Eagles for my money. Like I
For
said,
sure.
Jalen Hurts went 16-1 this year, and that one game he lost, I'm still not forgiving the NFL officiating. That was the worst, probably the one of the single worst officiated games of this season in a year with terrible officiating. That Eagles Washington game was horrendous. I hated it, and I hated that that's how they lost that unbeaten streak. And then the other two games that the Eagles lost, not necessarily Jalen Hurts himself, but the other two games the Eagles lost, well, he was injured, he was hurt, and Gardner Minshew dropped one in Dallas that went down to the wire. And then that next week in Washington, I think the Giants. That Giants game with Minshew as well, they dropped that one under, or excuse me, yeah, they dropped that.
They won that one. That was when Jalen Hurts was back. They lost against the
Who's up?
they lost against Dallas was one.
And then that next week, who was that? Jeff, if you in here, man, who was that? Maybe Jeff will give it to us. But my point is, like I said, when Jalen Hurts was on the field, that was the most dominant team in football. It just point blank period. When Jalen Hurts is on the field, that was the most dominant team in football.
New Orleans. They lost to New Orleans.
Okay, New Orleans. Okay, there. Yep. Okay, there we go. Damn, I forgot about New Orleans. Okay, yeah, you're right. And so, and that for me, man, that's why I'm going to get it to Jalen Hurts. And so like I said, if that pick and that, it could be, you can argue it and prove yourself right. If you argue Patty, if somebody argues Patty for me, I mean, like I said, man, I'm just picking my flavor. Like I said, I can't tell you that you're wrong. 5,000 yards, 40 touchdowns. He lost Tyreek. Like, damn, okay, I get it. You know what I'm saying? So I can't fight with you about it. Now, my dog, Big Josh, man, like I said, the second part of his season curtailed, man. He got his throwing arm. He got banged up, man. The injury that sidelined Brock Purdy, he suffered to a lower extent. But his season really kind of curtailed towards the end there. So he wasn't really in my thoughts or mine for a finalist. The third guy for me would have been Joe Burrow. What he did for that team, the numbers are what the numbers are, whatever. But what he did for that team and how he kept that team afloat, kept them team winning without his top guy, without Jamar Chase. And so I think he deserved a lot of credit for that as well. But like I said, man, for the reasons I just gave y'all, I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why. For a similar reason to how Aaron Rodgers, I hated last year's Aaron Rodgers MVP award because it was just purely one of those. It wasn't a phenomenal year. It just was. He barely cracked 4,000 yards. He had 30 touchdowns. Yeah, he probably had 8 interceptions. It was typical Aaron Rodgers football, but it wasn't anything extraordinary. I think Joe had an argument to be in the mix, especially down the stretch of that last season and then carrying it to the playoffs, but it's a regular season award, etc. But anyway, man, point being, Jalen's got mine. Jalen Hurts, 16-1 on the season. And like I said, man, the biggest catalyst to that Eagles team being the most dominant team in football this year was Jalen Hurts. Like that team can't now they only went where they're dominant, you know what I mean, for at all. And so I think, like I said, man, I'm going Jalen Hurts as my MVP this year.
Okay, gotcha. And Willie Jack, I'm gonna go ahead and go with Pat Mahomes, man. I think we talked about this before. I'm gonna go with Pat Mahomes, and I'm going with Pat Mahomes for similar to the reasons that you already mentioned, and similar to the reasons that you mentioned Chris Jones as your, defensive player of the year. Because it's we got these teams first off facing off in the Super Bowl, okay, and I'm gonna give you a little teaser here. I'm not gonna give you a lot, but it's the reason why a lot of people look at the Eagles in totality as far as a whole as being the better team than the Chiefs, who may be considered top heavy to a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? It's Patrick Mahomes. He is part of one of the reasons that this team is good. He's carrying his team, so he is the guy. You know what I'm saying? So you're talking about guys that, if you're looking at both sides, yes, the Eagles were the more dominant team for sure. But I think Pat Mahomes, in my mind, from start to finish, probably was the best player for me. Was the best player, from start to finish in terms of carrying his team, doing what his team needed to do with not as much as he's used to having. Now he had this guy, Travis Kelce, and Travis Kelce was Travis Kelce this year. He was good.
Great.
But without Tyreek Hill and, with Valdez Scantling, with, a bunch of third string receivers, you know what I'm saying? With the exception of Juju. Juju's 2. I give Juju a number 2 receiver, but without a number 1 receiver this year, was able to do everything he was doing, was able to shut me up, in terms of me wondering like, hey, what you gonna do without Tyreek, man? What you gonna look like? And he was able to come out and show everybody like, hey, man, I'm still Pat Mahomes. I don't know what everybody thought. That's still Project Pat. So I go Patrick Mahomes as my MVP. I feel like he is the one of it, man.
No, and like I said, man, you can't. Like I said, I said this before on the show as well. Patrick Mahomes is going to be. You can argue for Jordan to win the MVP every year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you really can. So it's never a wrong decision to give the MVP to MJ. But we see every now and again Charles Barkley. Somebody has to get one. Because the answer can always be Patty. You know what I mean? I don't know, and I'm not to say that I don't feel like he deserves or is qualified when I say Jalen Hurts, but it can always be MJ. You know what I'm saying? Barkley got one. Barkley, I don't want to say stole because that's too strong, but but Barkley got one from Jordan as well during that time, during that run. And then honestly, when I thought about it,
Steve Nash got one from Kobe.
Steve Nash got one from Kobe. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Now, there was a lot going on with Kobe back then. That's back when, you know what I'm saying, that everything that happened or whatnot. And so they didn't want to have it anyway. But yeah, man. And honestly, I have more faith that the Chiefs, knock on wood, that Andy Reid and the Chiefs without Patty find a way to make the playoffs than I do in Nick Sirianni without Jalen Hurts, the way that team's constructed with that scheme. I'm not talking about reinventing the wheel on the fly. I'm talking about if you had to play the way both those teams play, I have more confidence just in the strength of Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. With, like I said, I don't want to say that as well, man. I don't want to sound crazy, but the way that team's constructed, it has to be Jalen Hurts to work. Almost like the success with the Ravens. It has to be Lamar, the way that team runs and operates. Like, you know what I mean? It just has to be. You know what I'm saying? Now, Patty does make, and that's not the discount what Patty does, because like I said, those weapons aren't great by any means. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, man. I feel like this is Barkley stealing that MVP from MJ. Like I said, MJ wins it, man. I can't knock it at all. I wouldn't knock it, but I got an opportunity to let Barkley get one, to let somebody get one, man. So I gave it to Barkley this year. That's what it is, and not because Barkley had a phenomenal year. He ain't MJ, but he balled. You know what I'm saying? And if MJ's not in the league, then maybe it's even more clear cut. So I gave this one to Barkley, man. I gave it to Barkley.
Right. Well, I can rock with that, Willie Jack. I can rock with that. But hey, man, that's it. That's all, Willie Jack. We went through all the awards, man. We talked about the news. We went through some coaches. We talked a little bit of draft. You know what I mean? Hey, I think it's about that time, Willie Jack, man. Bring us on home, dog.
Hey, there you go, man. Like my dog just said, the show is came to an end, man. Ain't a lot, man. I'm surprised without having the game that we had a full show like we did. And so, man. Man, yeah, like we said, man, we saw we conquered. Y'all know what's going on, man. Real quick with the rundown. Or no, actually, we should recap real quick, man. I'll run through mine real quick. MVP, I had Jalen Hurts. Offensive Player of the Year, man, I had Patty with a late substitution. Defensive Player of the Year, Chris Jones. Comeback Player of the Year, I gave it to Big Gino. Coach of the Year, Kyle Shanahan. Rookie of the Year, Sauce Gardner. And Brock Purdy on the offensive side. My dog Chop had MVP, Patty. Offensive Player of the Year, Justin Jefferson. Nick Bosa, Defensive Player. C-Mac, Comeback. Sauce and Garrett Wilson as the Rookies of the Year, and then Shanahan as well as the Coach of the Year. Real quick, man, who was in there fooling with your dogs, man. The home team was in the building, man. My sister, my mama, my auntie. Appreciate the love as always. Man, my dog from the crib from high school, man. He slid in here and dropped on me, man. My dog Calvin, man. Appreciate the love. Man, my sister brought a couple friends with her, man. Appreciate that. Eclipse was in the building, and Miss Tanya. Hey, we appreciate all the love, man. Some new faces. Appreciate y'all. And then, of course, man, our dog, man. Part of that, you know what I'm saying, one of them tenured members, man. Day one game, man. He was here the long way with us as well, man. Our dog Jeff, man, a big Eagles fan. He was in there holding us down as well, man. Hey, we appreciate all the love, man. Hey, other than that, man, y'all know what's going on. Y'all can say it with me at home. If I forgot to say your name, come on, man. Charge it to my head, don't charge it to my heart. You know we thinking about you. We appreciate all the love, support as always, man. Y'all know what's going on. This Sunday, the big dance. You know what I'm saying? The big show. You know what I'm saying?
Baby.
The big one. You know what I mean? So this Sunday, my dog Chop gonna be in Dirty Dallas, man, and Triple D here holding it down with me. So y'all tune in and kick it with your dogs, man. It's gonna be a good time, man. And a good time with us, man. Even better game, hopefully. So we'll see y'all then, man, Sunday. Holla at your dogs. Until then, y'all have fun, be safe. Peace.
Peace.